Welcome, good morning and good afternoon to you. We will wait a couple of minutes as people are coming into the room. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the WFTGA virtual conference. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat while we wait for everyone to join in the room. Greetings from New York City, Munich, Germany, Toronto, Paris, Slovakia, Porto. Everyone's coming in from all over the world. Good morning and good afternoon to you. My name is Geneviève Leclerc. I am live from Montreal. We will give it a couple more seconds. People are still coming into the room. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Cyprus, Stockholm, Brazil, good morning and good afternoon to you. Cyprus, New York City, the Philippines, Greece, Copenhagen. Welcome to the first ever WFTGA virtual conference. We are so pleased to be with you. For some of us, it is day 2. And welcome to those of you that are joining today that weren't there yesterday. I am very pleased to be your facilitator for today. My name is Geneviève Leclerc. I am speaking to you live from Montreal, where it is still quite early and a cold and sunny morning. We have participants from all over the world, as you can see in the chat. Many of you were there yesterday, and if you were there yesterday, you will know that we had peak viewing of 721 participants watching from 84 different countries. So I have to say that we were astounded at the fantastic attendance. I will first introduce to you the WFTGA's current president, Alushka Ritchie, who will kick off the second day of conference for us. Alushka is a tourist guide from South Africa, and she has a passion for gastronomy tours when I learned that. And I learned that she's apparently a wine expert. I'm definitely putting that on my to-do list when I start traveling again, is to do the Western Cape vineyards with you, Alushka. So please welcome and hello again to you.
Thank you very much. And for sure, we will welcome you with open arms in Cape Town. And there's an abundance of wine, so please make sure you're here for a couple of weeks. As Geneviève said, I'm Alushka Ritchie, President of the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. And just a brief introduction to who we are for those who are watching us and haven't really engaged with us. We welcome you. And the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations is an organization an international organization with members across the globe. Our focus is on promoting the tourist guide profession and advancing the sector. And we really do this by ensuring that the visitors and our tourism colleagues are aware of the value add that we as qualified and licensed tourist guides add to an experience. We really are all about the in-person experience, and unfortunately, due to the postponement of our convention, we then had to do this virtual conference, which is a good thing because, as Geneviève says, we're engaging with people and tourist guides in over 80 countries. How amazing is that? So Geneviève will be taking us through today as our facilitator, and she also comes with a lot of experience. 25 years in Congress management and consultancy for associations, worked for PCOs and international associations as an independent consultant. She's also managing director of an international scientific society and a social entrepreneur, and has founded 2 organizations supporting the business events industry, Meet for Impact and Caravel Strategies. So Geneviève, I do believe that you're very much focused on sustainable development goals and putting that through into your Meet for Impact projects. Your social innovation principles and your general social impact considerations and projects is really something that everyone should look into. So, and although you're in Montreal, you do this internationally as well. So thank you so much, Genevieve. We look forward to you taking us through day 2, the theme Future of Tourist Guides and Tourist Guiding. And today, day 2 is our professional day. And I hand back over to you, Genevieve.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Alushka. Before I move on to today's program, I do want to salute the incredible work that your team and yourselves have been doing. This conference has taken months to make it happen. And I think we all recognize that presenting 100% of our content online has really been a challenge, and particularly for people that are used to being tourist guides and interacting directly with people, as you had said. But yesterday's success should be celebrated. And I really want to thank you and personally the tech team behind us for the hard work. So congrats. Today's really about, I think, reconvening and taking stock together that this year has been really, really hard on this profession. This is a marathon whose finishing line keeps being pushed forward. It's very hard to plan, very hard to know when we're going to be back out there paving the streets and taking people around our wonderful cities and our landscapes. We do recognize that we are most probably the first hit and the last to recover as an industry. The health protocols, the sanitary measures have tremendously transformed the way we will be working in the future, the way the venues and the attractions will be working for the futures. And I recognize that this has been an incredibly hard year for all of you. For myself, who's also in the tourism and business events industry. We would like to kick off a little very short poll with you just to figure out what the current situation is in your country. So I'm going to ask our tech team to run a poll question so that you can let us know what is the current situation in your country as far as working as a tourist guide. So we'll leave you a couple of seconds to answer that. It's a short question. Good, thank you. We'll share the results on that with you. I'm sure everyone's kind of curious. I have seen in the chat a question regarding yesterday's recordings. So just want to let you know that those of you that weren't attending yesterday, the recordings will be freely available on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, WFTGA's YouTube channel, by next week. And those of you that are members will receive an email and keep at looking on social media for an announcement on that. So rest assured that you will have access to all of that wonderful content. So today we will have a string of speakers that will present content aimed at supporting the development of professional skills for tourist guides, with a focus on recovery. I think we all feel it. It's coming. It's near. We got to get ready. So let's hear it. You will have a chance to provide questions today. If you look at your Zoom interface, on top of the chat box, you have a Q&A chat box. We ask you to keep the Q&A box for questions for moderators and speakers, and the chat for sharing with your colleagues. So if you do want to ask a question to the panelist, put it in the Q&A so we see it. However, we cannot recommend that we will get to all of the questions. I will try, but timing will really depend on that. Don't forget to, oh, here we go. We've got sharing the polls. So we've got almost half of our attendees that are not allowed to guide currently, and another half that are with major limitations. So we really interesting. So we don't have a lot of people that are in a situation where they can freely guide. Only 5% can actually freely guide. So it really, I'm not surprised at these numbers. I think, so hopefully, keep hope. This will change within a few months. Let's get on with this day. All of our content today will feature, we'll speak to the future of tourist guiding, and we'll seek to provide insights, solution, best practices to basically what you've experienced in the recent months, and those of you that have fared better or have insights to get ready. To kick it off, we'll be hearing from Daniel Levine, who is one of the world's best-known trends expert. Named the ultimate guru of cool by CNN, he is the author of over 20 best-selling books, frequent guest on international television and radio. He is the executive director of the Avant-Garde Institute, a New York-based trends consultancy. He is the leader of a huge team of trend spotters who track the latest ideas from around the globe. So we're happy, Daniel, that you've brought your crystal ball here today for us and present what we can expect as travel trends going forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I couldn't have written it better myself. You know, the problem, I can't hear everybody laughing at all the wonderful jokes I'm about to tell you, because I actually have a very unusual presentation. I'm not a tour guide, but I've had a very unusual perch overlooking the travel industry for my entire career. Right now, I'm in New York City, and the wonderful thing about being here right now is that I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it should be encouraging to everyone who's viewing now that just yesterday I made my first travel reservation, my first flight reservation in over a year. And if that's a harbinger for things to come, which I think it is, then we're in for a much more positive time in the very near future. You know, in fact, I think it's funny that you mentioned that I have a crystal ball, because I did bring my crystal ball, because at the end of this presentation, I do have a prediction for all of you about what the world of travel is going to look like in the near future, and when I think we're all going to get back to work, based on research that we do at the Avant-Garde Institute. Just to add a little bit more to your wonderful introduction about what I'm doing here, I run a trends consultancy in New York City, and we have thousands of trend spotters all around the world who every day are sending us information that they're finding on things that are new and unique and unusual in some way. And what we do in our New York office is when we start to see the same kind of thing happening, the same psychographic or demographic or geographic, we connect those dots to show business people trends that are forming. And that's really important, because trends show you what customers want, and in this case, what travelers want. And what I've seen in my entire career working with trends, and why they're so powerful, is because trends are not siloed by industry. Yeah, sure, there are trends in the travel industry and in tour guiding in particular, but those are all related to bigger trends that are happening in the world at large, because trends are about people, they're about us, they're about what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we want, what we want in our lives and from the world, what we're looking for. And basically, most people are looking for the same trends in every part of their lives. The cars we drive, the clothing we wear, and the travel decisions we make as well. Trends are about lifestyle. So it's very powerful to understand what those trends are and what people are thinking, so that you can plan for the future of your business. And the trends, obviously, right now, have been transformed hugely in this last year because of COVID. And so we've just gone through this whole process where, I mean, we're still in the middle of it, this process of a huge transformation in the way that people are thinking and feeling. And so what I'm sharing with you today is going to be two major trends that I and my company have seen are really going to be powerful for the tour guiding industry in the sort of post-COVID environment. And you know, I want to just make a quick differentiation between a trend and a fad, because many people conflate the two or they confuse the two. You know, a fad is something like fidget spinners. You know, you remember fidget spinners, and they're sort of they come on quickly and they leave fast. It's not the kind of thing that you could put a business plan around. A trend is much bigger in scope. It's this idea. Oh, yeah, thanks, Sebastian. It's this idea that with trends, they are sort of these large movements in population. The definition we use in my office for a trend is that there are shared changes in sentiment in any measurable direction. So when you can see your customers or people, a group of people, thinking, feeling, buying in a certain direction en masse that's important to you, those are trends that can be shared. So actually, Sebastian, I'm gonna go to my shared screen and pull up the slides, because I changed the order around just a little bit. So let me do this. I put together this Venn diagram of one of the things that we're seeing as the future of tourist guides in the post-pandemic environment. And it's this idea of wellness, which has been so huge because of COVID, and the idea of humanness, which is the other side of that, you know, so many people are looking once again for human touch. It's one of the biggest things that's been missed because of this stupid virus is human touch. And the other part, of course, that's on top of mind for everybody is wellness. And so the idea that the future of tourist guides is at the combination of these two things, first of all, is not unique to tourist guides. This is something that I'm seeing in industries across the spectrum, that industries that embrace the ideas of wellness and humanness are the ones who are embracing the future. So let me just jump into that, this idea of wellness first. Let's just talk about that. And I want to explain to you this idea, how trends are not specific to industry, but how people are thinking and feeling. So for example, if you look at the latest Tesla car ads, you know, Tesla is not advertising now that they are the most advanced technologically. What they're advertising now is that they're the safest cars. Why? Because that's resonating with people's sensibilities right now, this idea of wellness. In a completely different industry, we look at drinks, and we see that the fastest growing category in the drinks industry is functional beverages. And these are beverages that don't just taste good or help you not be thirsty, but they're good for attention and focus or energy or something like that. Again, it's wellness that's selling the drinks industry. And it's as big as cities. Many of you know, I think we have some people from France here today, and the city of Paris is implementing a healthy city campaign. They're looking to make everybody in Paris you know, live close to all the things that are necessary for life, parks, restaurants, shops, trying to make the city better for walking and bicycling, even on that level. And then in the travel industry, we're seeing a lot of industries that are embracing wellness. And some of you may have seen recently that Japan Airlines, for example, on their seating chart is now showing you where screaming babies are sitting so that you could choose a seat that's far away from them. It's just an example of how even in the travel industry, as in all other industries, people are realizing, smart marketers are realizing that wellness is a major trend, and they're looking to make people's lives weller, psychologically, physically, spiritually. In fact, spiritually, this is a slide from Airbnb experiences. They're now doing Airbnb animal experiences, where you can sign up to have an experience with an animal. And in this case, this is a slide of Dolly the sheep from Scotland. You can have tea with Dolly. So these are ideas that you know, smart marketers realize that wellness is a major social trend, and they're saying, hey, what can we do to embrace that, to win more visitors and increase sales? And just as I'm seeing this be a major trend in every industry that my company works with, it will be a major trend in travel and tourism in general, and in tour guiding as well. And so one question that I would ask if I were a tour guide is how can I even better incorporate wellness into my offerings from both a marketing perspective and then actually, when you're on the pavement. And I think it's sort of a good thought experiment. The second part of this is about humanness. And, humanness is this idea, again, that so many people have really been missing the human touch because of the virus. It's taken that away from us. Now, look, obviously, the world is also moving towards tech. And I know that later today, people will be talking about AR and VR. And that's important because, we're seeing a lot of that. This is a slide about augmented reality dressing rooms that are popping up in some shops around the world, because it's not healthy to put on clothing in a dressing room for real anymore. So this is a way of seeing what you're wearing on an AR screen. Again, this is an excellent example of how tech, like augmented reality, is not specific to any one industry. We're seeing it across the industrial spectrum, and people are going to be getting used to that. And we're seeing it with robots also. This is a slide from the Lenta department stores in Moscow, which, from what I've seen so far, has the most advanced robot shop assistants. So you can walk up to the shop assistant, to the robot, and you could say, do you have a pair of jeans in my size? And the robot, of course, knows everything that's in stock. So it will say to you, yes, we do, and it's in aisle 6, and show you where to go. Those of you who've been to Incheon Airport in Seoul recently have seen these robots, these assistants. Again, you walk up to them and ask them where the flight to wherever you're going is, and it will say, oh, that's gate 36. And then amazingly, we'll say, would you like me to walk you there? And it can speak multiple languages, of course. And then we're seeing this in hotels as well, robots. This is a slide from the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, which at one point was testing these pepper robots from Japan. But what I think is really interesting, and what I want to really talk to you about, because this trend is about humanness, is the opposite of this and the counter trend to this. Because what we've seen also is that these kinds of robotics are not working in luxury environments. And what people are really looking for more, especially on the high end, is that human touch. I think it's really interesting that when you look at the tech industry, especially coming out of Silicon Valley, they're really pushing for things like tech in schools, so that students should learn on computers, not learn how to use computers, but really learn about their lessons on computers. And you look at this and you think, wow, this is really taking the human touch away. And what's fascinating to me is that then when you look at where the people who work in tech in Silicon Valley are sending their children, they're sending their own children to schools that do not use computers in the classroom, that in fact have humans teaching children old style. And what's so fascinating to me about that, let me just stop sharing this. What's fascinating to me about that is that what I'm seeing in the near future is that there's this bifurcation that's happening, this differentiation that's happening, where luxury is becoming about human touch, and things that are not as luxurious are relying more on technology. And the reason for that, especially going forward, is because technology will be cheap. Technology is cheap. You can have, look, I just heard yesterday there was over 700 people here because it's so much easier to show up via technology. It's cheaper and easier to show up via technology than it is to actually make a commitment to go there in person. So what we're seeing is that in the very near future, the meaning of luxury is about humanity. And so what that means to me is that people would prefer humanity. They prefer the human touch if they can afford it. And I think that that's really relevant for tour guides, of course. And so this is sort of the two big counter trends that are coming from the pandemic. And so again, if I were a tour guide, I would ask myself, how can I bolster humanness as a part of the core of my offerings? And so what I would say, sort of my thought experiment of the day would be, what would it look like if you made wellness and humanness the core of your offerings? How would that change the way you market yourself and the way you actually provide your services? And it may be just sort of a good thing to ruminate about and to consider, what the future of the business is going to be. There's a famous quote, which many of you have heard from Charles Darwin, that says it's not the largest or the strongest who survive, but those who are most responsive to change. And nowhere is that more so than right now and what's happening with what we've gone through in the last year. And so that's where my prediction with my crystal ball is coming in. And my prediction from everything that I've seen of how what's happening in the travel industry with both leisure travel and corporate leisure is that we're going to have a slow ramp up until 2022, but in the year 2022, so it's still a year away, travel and tourism will be huge. What we're seeing is that it will be as big or perhaps even bigger than it was pre-pandemic. That's so exciting to me. There's so much pent up demand for travel. When you ask people what's the main thing that they would like to be doing after this is all over, travel is number one on that list, time and time again. And we're seeing that both in the leisure environment and the corporate environment, where another trend has been this sort of blurring between corporate and leisure travel. People who are traveling for business are then incorporating more leisure activities in those business trips. And from what we're seeing, that's going to happen even more in 2022. So it's going to sort of ramp up very, sort of slowly through the end of the year and then all of a sudden. And that's my good news for next year. And that's my presentation. So I hope that I gave you some food for thought today. And I so much appreciate you inviting me here to speak with you. And I wish you all a hang in there, a good year this year, a decent year this year, and a fantastic year in those years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. You are giving us some great news. So lots of enthusiasm this morning. And I would even add to what you said about people want to travel again. We also think that people want to travel well. And I think in all of the trends, that wanting to connect with human, that wanting to connect with nature is giving us hope that people are going to be doing tourism that will bring more value to communities in the future. Daniel, if you wouldn't mind, before you disappear, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A box. We won't have time to address them live, but I do believe you have access to maybe typing a couple of sentences. We would deeply appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you.
I'll be happy to. Yes, and if anyone wants to contact me, I'm happy to talk about this as well. I love the travel industry, and I'm really excited to help everyone get back on their feet.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We will now be speaking with Eric Bowman. Welcome, Eric. Eric is the executive editor of Travel Pulse. He is a graduate, University of Georgia, USA, where I believe he still resides. He's been working on online media, radio, TV for over a decade, and he will give us a media perspective on the kind of trends that Daniel has been speaking of. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really honored for the invite. So I am the executive editor of travelpulse.com. It is a travel news website. We cover the top trending stories in the world of travel, from hard news to viral type of stories, along with our own original content of gallery pieces and feature stories. So if it's trending in travel, we're going to cover it. And I also host the Travel Pulse podcast. So if you're a podcast fan, check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. So from a media perspective, trends right now from what travel readers are searching for and what they're looking at right now. We actually just did a post yesterday on what travelers are thinking right now, according to Google. And so we did a dive into our Google Analytics at Travel Pulse and along with data from Google Trends. And we found searches for 2021 traveler on the rise. Obviously, a lot of people, as Daniel mentioned, the pent up demand, a lot of people want to get out and explore. There's also a major interest around health and safety and the latest travel restrictions. People want to know mostly, which destinations are the safest, where can they go right now? What are the restrictions in place at those destinations? When will their favorite destination open up if it's not open right now? So we're seeing a lot of that. Trending travel search terms such as cruises, hotels, and flights are all on a consistent upward trend over the last 3 months between 25 and 50%. So some encouraging signs there that, it kind of goes hand in hand with that pent up demand, what we're seeing. Another new term that we're seeing, and it's on the rise, is the term vaccine travel. And a lot of people are searching for that, at least here within the US. MMGY Global actually coined the term earlier this year of the term vaxication, which is taking a vacation once you're vaccinated. And I think that's certainly going to happen. You're already seeing it a little bit with some of the elderly travelers here in the US. They've already booked stuff for spring break. I think that will continue to happen. We'll see more of that as people get their vaccine. Travelers want to know, what the vaccine might mean for them and their vacation plans. Cruisers want to know what cruise lines are saying about vaccine requirements. So these are some of the things that we're seeing travel readers come to our website to check out and gain more knowledge and information on. So the news of ramping up a vaccine production is leading to higher confidence among travelers to get out there, or at the very least to start making upcoming plans. Because booking wise, what we're seeing in trends for actual bookings, not a lot going on right now. I've talked to a lot of travel advisors over the last recent weeks. Travel advisors are kind of our main core audience at Travel Pulse, although we do have a growing consumer list thanks to partnerships with MSN and Fox and the Tribune Content Agency and everything. So, but talking to a lot of travel agents and travel advisors, they kind of report slow bookings for trips right now, with international trips among American travelers being mostly to Mexico and the Caribbean. I think Dominican Republic is one that's doing better than most. A lot of the reason on that is because Mexico and the DR do not have a requirement to be COVID tested before you get there. Although if you are going to go anywhere, I think you should get COVID tested before you go. And then, now the rule that was implemented in the end of January to come back into the US, you do have to present a negative COVID test. So, however, bookings for Q4 are Q4 vacations and trips are up on the rise, according to a lot of travel advisors I've talked to. They say Q4 at the end of this year looks very promising. Q3 could be good too, depending on when Europe and Asia open up and what type of travel restrictions are in place there. Nobody wants to quarantine or be stuck in another country. So as long as those quarantine restrictions are in place, travel bookings are going to be impacted by that. And those who do want to travel are going to pick up destinations that don't have it. So it will be interesting to see when Europe does decide to open up. I know the CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council recently said that she believes that travel to Europe will pick up significantly by the summer. So, fingers crossed there that they can open up and we can kind of get back to where things are, slowly get back to, that new normal, I guess, that we're going to see. So another 2021 travel trend that is increasing and that I think should continue to grow is actually working with a travel advisor to book your vacation. So there's been a lot of horror stories last year, particularly a year ago around this time, last March, of being stuck, not getting any refunds, being on hold for hours on end and not talking to anyone at all because they booked online. So, and some data actually supports this too. An increased number of consumers are seeking out travel advisors for trip planning, according to Virtuoso, a leading host agency in the travel industry. So consumer inquiries to be connected with an advisor doubled up last summer. And then in January, inquiries were up more than 50% compared to December. So I think a lot of that is because a lot of people, they don't want to be left high and dry should something go wrong, and a travel advisor is always going to have your back. So I'm a big advocate for travel advisors, and people should definitely book with them if you've never used one. I highly encourage you to get out there and look for one in your area, because they can help you in a numerous amount of ways, and not just helping you find a good deal, which everybody loves a good deal. So so those are kind of the main trends right there. Other trends that I'm seeing, just travel industry wise, of how people are traveling right now, is road trips and staycations. So these are the trips we're seeing at the moment for people who do feel comfortable traveling domestically here in the US. I'm based outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So seeing some people, starting to hit the beach because spring break is coming up, some people going to Florida and stuff. People will continue to travel this way in 2021, as they won't, some people at least will, because they don't feel comfortable flying internationally yet, or they won't feel comfortable cruising right away, depending on what kind of restrictions are in place for cruise lines when they do open up. So all those cruise lines are still waiting for additional guidance from the CDC. They still have to do test voyages. It's unclear whether or not there'll be vaccine mandates for passengers in place for all the major ocean liners. A lot to kind of go back and forth on there, but it does seem like COVID testing will be a thing, and it does seem like you'll have to wear masks on board and socially distance and everything, at least in the initial going there. So another trend that's really on the rise too from a lot of travel advisors is luxury travel for those that can't afford right now, and booking ahead to future trips too, and going big and going long. So bucket list trips will be a focal point for many, as will extended long trips. And evidence of this too is Oceania Cruises announced that its 2023 around the world in 180 days cruise sold out within 1 day, which I think is really encouraging for the cruise industry to know that their diehard fans or diehard cruisers are still pursuing and booking future trips, because a lot of people have been stuck and couldn't go anywhere. So what better way once the world opens back up and to go on an entire world cruise, if you have the luxury to go spend 180 days and travel around the world. But that would be amazing, right? I would love that, to be able to do that. So another trend is family and multi-generational travel. I don't think this is really going to take off too much, at least this summer, maybe a little bit towards the end of this year. I think what we're seeing is, people have been in lockdown and missing those who mean the most to them. So there'll be a lot of family get-togethers, a lot of family vacations coming up following the pandemic. People are starting to book that and look to where they can go. Some people are waiting till the entire family is going to be vaccinated to be able to go out and travel together, being able to take the grandparents and the grandkids in the same trip. I think we're going to see a lot of that in 2022. So I agree with Daniel. I think, the travel and the bounce back is on its way, and it'll really, really take off in 2022. So another one is the rise of villas. So Villas of Distinction added numerous domestic villas here in America for American travelers, because travelers are seeking that privacy. They want to stay, they don't want to stay in some don't want to stay in a hotel. They want their own, villa. They want their own house to be able to hang out with their family and not have to worry about anyone else being around them. So Villas of Distinction bookings were soaring in late 2020. And I think that'll continue to grow as people kind of alter how they travel and look to that way. I think some people, have experience with the Airbnbs of the world where you don't have to, you just check in, you walk into your room, your hotel, or your house or your flat or whatever, and you don't have to worry about other people around you, and you can just kind of focus on you and the people traveling with you. So business travel wise, I do agree with Daniel. I think that's going to take a little longer to come back, but it'll be a mix of that corporate and leisure stuff, or bleisure travel, if you will, is kind of the term there. Another term that's kind of has risen up out of this pandemic here is revenge travel. We just did a piece about that earlier this week. It's people making up for lost vacations. They had to cancel trips, or they had to leave trips early in 2020. So they've rebooked, rescheduled. They've used their future credits to do that. Hopefully, if you had to cancel anything, make sure you check in on when your credits expire, so you don't miss out on that, because some people have already, since we're approaching the 1 year of the official pandemic date. Being stuck at home, having to cancel trips, it has been a tough year, but making travel plans is good for your mental health. It's something to look forward to. I planned a few trips for the year already, both for leisure and for work. I have a work trip coming up next week. I took some work trips last summer to kind of experience what travel is like amidst the pandemic, as people in America have been traveling to Mexico and the Caribbean. So kind of seeing that. But yeah, booking my future trips for this year and kind of planning up some travel plans, getting my daughter a passport. She's 1 year old now. So getting her a passport, and that has been exciting. It's definitely lifted my spirits. So I think that it's just good for your mental health to kind of make some travel plans if you can focus on that and get excited about that too. I mean, I know Daniel said he booked his first trip within a year, and he had a big smile on his face. So I totally am for that. So as you can see, I said I'm based in Georgia, but my background here, I'm my heart and my mind is in a tropical oasis at all times if I can be, because we got to get through this pandemic and everything. So that's what I'm seeing trends wise throughout the travel industry. A lot going on. But yeah, exciting stuff. The bounce back is coming. So just hang in there and hang tight for now. And there's going to be a resurgence. That's huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And I do share with you the fact that one of the big things about traveling in the future is just being with family. And it seems that people are already starting. You have probably a much freer way of getting around within the US than we currently do. I'm in Canada. It's much harder for us to get around, get on a plane at the moment. But the ones that are doing it are finding a way to basically, if they can't get together here as a family, they travel to get together as a family. So really positive trends. Thank you again. You and Daniel have giving us hope that this is coming soon and coming in masses. So we will be ready. Next up, after Daniel, will be Mrs. Rita Marques. She is State Secretary of Tourism for the Portuguese Republic, an official speaker for us today. She has a varied background. She holds degrees in electrical and computer engineering, master in business administration and executive leadership degrees. She's been CEO of Portugal Ventures, executive director of programs in business schools, manager of Asia Pacific market and technology and tourism sector in a Portuguese agency. She has also, in the charity side, been chair of the Portuguese Youth Federation Supervisory Board, and she has worked as a consultant over the world in the past few years. Mrs. Marques, bem-vindo. In the past, Portugal has been perceived by the media, trade, and by travelers as a premium destination, and you have received a fair amount of awards, including the Best Europe Leading Destination 2020 by the World Travel Awards. You've been also a Best World's Destination several times over. You will tell us about this, and I believe in your remarks today, you also let us know what your views are on the role that tourist guides can play, the critical role in protecting our destinations, making people aware of our destinations, and ensuring sustainable development of our communities in the future. So welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Well, I had the chance to listen to a little bit to Eric, so I guess that I will make my best to continue to give hope, because I think it's very important also for all of us to have a positive perspective about what's coming next. So first, I would like to thank you very much the invitation from the Federation. I haven't had a chance to meet the president, Aluz Carbici, but I guess that we'll have the chance to meet, hopefully, very soon. I would like very much also to say a couple of words to the Portuguese Association of Tourist Guides and Tour Managers. I guess that Cristina Leal is with us today. So thank you, Cristina, for inviting me and also for having me in this panel. And of course, I would like to extend a warm thank you to all of you that are attending this event. I was said that yesterday you had more than 700 people. So thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for everything that you have been giving to the tourism sector. And I hope we can continue to count on you in the near future. So I will try to divide my speech in 3 different parts, very trying to be very assertive and clear to everyone. So the first thought I would like very much to share with you is about what we have learned so far with this pandemic. And I would like to highlight 2 big takeaways. First, the need to have a huge international coordination and consultation. So we know that, you know, a lot of stuff went wrong in this pandemic, and one of the things that really went wrong was the fact that we hadn't a lot of coordination and cooperation internationally speaking. And in Europe last week, we had a very important meeting. We gave the first steps towards a more coordinated action. So on March the 1st, we had the EU Ministers of Tourism meeting under the coordination of Portugal, because we have the presidency of the European Council now till June. And we agreed that we really need a common approach to resume travel and tourism across Europe. And I think this is very much very important. This is a very important takeaway, because last year we didn't have that. So we had a couple of countries fighting for corridors, for bubbles. And in order for us to resume travel, it's important to support tourism companies, support the ecosystem in a very in a very transversal way. And this means that a international coordination plan needs to put into force. And also last week in the meeting, we didn't discuss only the need to have international coordination approach, but also we need to continue to support tourism companies around Europe in order for them to survive till the day that we desire so much. So the day of resets and resume the tourism that's so important to us. Tourism sector is so important to us. And so the first takeaway, I guess that's pretty much around the need to have higher international coordination. The second takeaway, I think, and I was listening to Eric, so it's very important to be aware of the trends, and he gave us a glimpse, a grasp of the trends that we are facing today. And so we need to have a kind of a great response, great flexibility to respond to these new demands. And this is very much attained through training and workshops and this type of events, in order to share our thoughts, to share all the information that we might have about these trends, in order to be more prepared. Last year, Portugal was the first country, I guess, in Europe for sure, in the world maybe, to launch what we call the Clean and Safe seal. And this was kind of a very important initiative, because not only about the seal, but also because we'd organized a set of training schemes, training initiatives that were really valuable in order to instigate trust and to instigate the need to resume tourism. And so I guess that being a tourism professional today, it's more demanding than ever. And we really need to be very attentive to all these trends, trying to invest in ourselves, in training, and in areas that were not really supposed to be the traditional areas, like business intelligence, planning, reacting in a timely manner, digital transformation, sustainability, all that. So it's really important to be informed and trained to get a better response. Well, but let's talk about the future. So the other two invitees, the other two speakers already mentioned about the future. I would like very much to highlight 3 big pillars in the tourism of the future. So first of all, I already mentioned, we need to adapt to change. I believe this is that the future will be of a permanent change. So it's fundamental to promote a culture of lifelong learning for all. And I already mentioned the need that for this to happen. Second, be attentive to consumer trends. Keeping pace with emerging tourism trends is fundamental to stay competitive. I already mentioned the need to be aligned with safety and hygiene standards, but also other matters that relate with sustainability, digitalization, and all that. And there are a variety of tourism trends that can be based on a more general changes in consumer behavior, and we already talked about that. The need, for instance, to have a more personalized service, the need to have, for instance, healthy and organic food and drinks in the tours. So there are a lot of details that need really to be well processed and well treated by everyone. And third, we talk about a lot. We talk a lot about sustainability, but I guess that I would like to highlight that solidarity is really important. So the speed of the market is likely to lead to higher inequality. And so public and private need to work together in order to reinforce efforts against discrimination, fight for gender, equality, inclusion, equal opportunities. So I guess that sustainability does not make sense if we do not highlight that solidarity is also so important. At a national level, well, we have been doing a lot. You already mentioned Portugal has been elected for 3 times in a row the best tourist destination in the world. The last one was 2019, so that was the last time that we were recognized as the best destination. And in 2020, Portugal has been considered the best destination in Europe. So in order to attain that, in order to attain these results, we have worked hard, of course. And our main experience is very much related with trying to develop authentic framework, highlighting our cultural heritage, nature, open air activities in the mountains, in the seaside, and all that. And in order to work with these assets, we really need huge and big professionals, and that's why I'm very proud to be in this event, because we have in Portugal tourism professionals that are really top, and so we have been working with them in order to guarantee that they are well trained, that can resume safely in the very near future. So to conclude, even though we are triggered by such a dramatic crisis, I do believe that we have a real opportunity to reinvent the tourism of tomorrow, to work with the private sector, and to move forward what we believe is going to be a better planet, a better world, in order for us to resume traveling. I know that, I guess that you have a video that we prepared in advance, so I invite you to join this movement that we've created a couple of weeks ago. It's a kind of an organic movement that aims to instigate for sustainable tourism, for a better future, for a better planet. So stay safe, and thank you again for having me.
It's time to stop. It's time to look out for each other in the distance. Time to stare humanity in the eyes. To take a break for the world. It's time to stop. Time to make a pause so we can play again. To think of everyone and meet no one. To reset, recenter, switch off, to move on. Time to change our little world. To calibrate the path of mankind. It's time to stop. We are meant to connect, and we are stronger together. But separated, we are today more united than ever. And for now, our main strength is to be apart. It's time to stop. Nature, landscapes, beaches, and monuments aren't going anywhere. They will still be there waiting for a better time to be lived. And we must do the same for a while. It's time to stop. The perfect time not to visit anything. Sometimes to rise is to stand still. It's time to stop. Stop and think of ourselves. Think of everyone else too. It's time to stop and refocus as a whole for all. It's time to understand and respect our times. Respect one another. The faster we stop, the sooner we will bond again. It's time to dream of those amazing days to come. For when those days arrive, we will say again.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Marcus. I don't know about the rest of you, but that video soothed my soul. It's beautiful, and thank you for bringing that to us. Thank you for, I would say, the leadership also that Portugal has shown, you know, within the European Union, internationally. Your point on higher international coordination is well taken, and we feel that being on this side of the Atlantic, sometimes jealous of the coordination within Europe, but absolute, you know, an absolute pleasure to have you with us this morning. And also, I just want to highlight that your points about partnerships and solidarity, and you talking about the sustainable development goals, has come, you know, forth over and over. And I think we share the sentiment that sustainability in general and the sustainable development goals are a trove of huge opportunities for tourism and for tourist guides. So I encourage you, everyone, the attendees, to look at the different references that our tech team has put in the chat. A lot of really great links, a lot of really great resources about Portugal's guidelines, some information about what's been done, and some references. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is Eva Kutlesh-Tlank. I'm sorry. I've practiced pronouncing that, but it's not great. You are from Croatia. You're senior travel and tourism marketing professional, and you have been with Google for 6 years, supporting destination management organization and tourism industry bodies in your role. You've also managed Google's relationship with several of the largest companies in the Emirates. And you were a marketing and e-commerce director at Croatia's leading hospitality company, Valamar Hotels and Resort. And also you've contributed to the Croatian National Tourism Strategy. So live from Dubai, who is a destination that invests a lot into looking out for trends and preparing for the future. You're in an excellent position to give us an idea of what we should be looking out for and what the opportunities are for our sector. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. And I have to say, you actually came pretty close to pronouncing my name correctly, better than most others. But yeah, it's a Croatian name. I've lived in Dubai for the past 6 years working for Google. I do work mainly with DMOs and industry bodies on helping them leverage Google's tools and basically help them use all of our digital platforms for their own benefit. So I'll talk about some of the behaviors and trends that we've observed last year in the travel space. And I have to say, Google is by no means the only source of truth, and whatever I tell you today should be taken with a grain of salt and combined with other data that you have. But generally, we do have 7 platforms that have over 1 billion users each, which means that we have a pretty good pool of what we call signals. We think that generally our platforms help people understand what the users are searching for and what their intent is, as opposed to the declared data that you get from research and traditional surveys, which are a good source of truth as well for certain purposes. So I'll share some of the Google data today. I have to say that as a matter of policy, Google does not try to predict what will happen and what will be the pace of the recovery. And especially since we've seen, I think since the beginning of the pandemic, that it's been rather unpredictable. So there was a lot of back and forth, right? It wasn't linear. It was very bumpy. We would recover a bit, get out of one lockdown, only to be faced with another couple of months later. So rather than trying to predict one single point of recovery, we try to encourage companies and organizations to basically leverage digital platforms to try to understand what's happening in the moment and to try to respond to that in the best possible way. So having said that, I hope you can see my screen all right. Please let me know, someone, if not. Otherwise, I'll just move on with the presentation. Yeah, it's all good. Great. For some reason, though, it's not changing slides on my end. Okay, there it is. So you probably know that one of the first places where people go to search for anything travel related is Google search. So whether you're traveling for the first time or repeatedly, whether you're interested in things to do in a destination or booking a plane ticket, travel is traditionally one of the most significant and growing categories on Google search. So last year was the first year where we actually saw a decline in the number of travel queries on Google for as long as we remember and keep track of things. And I have to say that, so this is 2020, but also looking at the first couple of months of 2021, I have to say that the numbers are still nowhere near the 2019 levels. So again, I don't want to ruin the optimism that we've heard from everyone else, just stating the fact so that you can put things into context. There are several countries that are recovering better than others, obviously, because they're open for travel. But in general, there's less demand on Google for travel-related questions. And so all of the categories were basically affected last year. Everyone suffered from accommodation to air travel to vacation packages. Some niches suffered less than others, I have to say, such as luxury travel, tour operators. And so certain things are like specialty travel, things that are somehow niche were affected less bad than others. And this slide here contains data that's not from Google, but I thought I would still include it because I think it illustrates how much the travel industry suffered versus everyone else. Expectedly, things like education and e-commerce and food and beverage industry saw an increase in their websites visits, whereas travel and tourism websites experienced around close to 40% drop in traffic last year. And one question that everyone's usually interested in is what is it that people ask Google, right? And so in 2019, that question was, how do I become a travel agent, right? And so in 2020, it was, and I think it's still top of mind for everyone, is when can we travel again, which shows you how fundamental that shift was. Among other things that grew significantly on Google in the travel context are terms such as travel near me, nearby, and road trips. So people were still looking for ways to travel within the given context. Now I'm showing you something from Google Trends. Google Trends is a public tool. If you're not already using it, I encourage you to explore it. This is the interest in guided tours as a search term. And you can see that there was a decline in 2020 compared to the year before. However, there are some peaks that are interesting. And then if you scroll further, you see that in some regions and for certain types of tours, the interest was more pronounced. So I would definitely encourage you to explore Google Trends, not only in relation to the tours, but also just to see what's trending and what's top of mind for people. The other thing that we saw happening with the pandemic is that the virtual tours as a concept significantly took over the traditional ones. So people were definitely looking for ways to experience things online. Another public tool that we recently launched that I would definitely encourage you to look at are Destination Insights. It's a tool that helps you understand the demand from one market to another. And again, when we talk about demand, we're talking about Google travel related searches. You have an example here of Croatia because I'm Croatian, but you can basically check interest from any origin country to any destination country, whether domestic or international. And then you can look at different timeframes and demand categories. Again, combined with other data that you might have at your disposal, this could be another indicator of whether things are recovering, whether there are any pockets of interest specifically from certain markets, etc. Unlike search, YouTube and actually video in general grew significantly last year, which makes sense given that people were spending a lot of time at home, and travel-related content actually went up as well. And not just travel-related content. I think the whole lockdown and social distancing produced a whole new breed of content on YouTube that became very popular, and where people were looking for ways to cope with this new situation, and they were turning to YouTube to figure out how to homeschool their children, or how to be more productive working from home, or how to cook a proper meal, or how to cope with stress. And so I think this is a great opportunity for travel companies to step into what's perhaps a new niche or domain for them outside of the traditional travel content space, and try to offer some solutions and some content along those lines and around these pillars that are obviously of interest to viewers at this moment. Another thing that we saw happen obviously was relying on technology to travel and to visit new places virtually. I think other speakers have mentioned it before as well, but there's a huge interest in anything to do with virtual tours, virtual reality, anything that basically enables people to experience things from their own home. So things that would otherwise require travel or going to a physical place. We've also seen a lot of national tourism organizations, as well as other service providers in the industry, offer some great content, whether they're virtual tours, whether they're live streams. I would also encourage you to visit Google Arts and Culture website. There's a lot of great destination content there as well. So I think companies and organizations are being creative about different ways in which they're bringing the travel experience closer to home. And finally, to leave you with some recent trends and observations. In the immediate future, what we're definitely seeing as significant interests on Google are longer stay intention, probably because, if people go through all the hassle to travel now, they might as well stay longer. And also there could be less business travel, so personal trips could be changing the numbers there. There's a shortened look ahead window, so people are not understandably looking too far in advance. And there's an interest in traveling within local travel radius. Again, this is something that that we're seeing at the moment, like I said, these things really do change. So I encourage you to leverage all the digital tools and platforms. And also, if you're working with the Google team locally, speak to them and try to understand what's top of mind for travelers at the moment. What type of content and messaging could you be delivering that's relevant to them? Thank you. It was great being here, and I do hope that we'll have a chance to meet in person somewhere soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. That was a lot of great information that we wish we would have access to more often, but it's great to feel that we just got inside the machine a little bit. And our youthful tech team have been putting in the chats the links to the tools that you've been talking about. So please have a look in the chat, our participants, if you want to know where to go. And Eva, if you have any additional links you can share with us. But that's been really useful. I especially like the last slide with the 3 trends: longer stay intentions, short and look ahead, local travel radius. I think this is really useful to know for us to plan the way we go forward. So thank you, Eva. Next up, we will Eric. We will move straight into a video. The video comes to us from Randall Obsney Hernandez. He is a tourist guide from Costa Rica, and he's sent in a case study on food tours using technology.
That's the beginning of the beginning. We met Malo and Adele and all my friends in the Costa Rica Tour Guide Association. And together we begin to develop our ideas and support each other in every single project.
Hey, where are you gonna go on vacation? I'm gonna go down to that cool little Pura Vidaville town, Costa Rica. Chewing on ceviche, watching the surf break, and all of the monkeys just hanging around. That's you. Sipping on sangria, pura vida amiga, hitting on the new girl who just got into town. And the tide rolls in, tide rolls out, and it's rolling back again. And I'm singing, welcome my friends to Pura Vidaville. Population smile 365, and every day it gets a little better. It's colder beer under warmer weather, and you're welcome to stay the rest of the day or the rest of your life. Tired of my bones freezing, I can't find the reasons to live in a place that's cold as hell. No, no. I sip on peepers, sunny Costa Rica, singing songs on the beach with the sun going down, yeah. And the tide rolls in and the tide rolls out, and it's rolling back again. And I'm singing, welcome my friends to Pura Vidaville. Population smile 365. It's so safe they don't have an army. It certainly makes for a better party. And you're welcome to stay the rest of the day or the rest of your life. Kicking back on my old cheese lounge with a couple cold imperials. Yeah, now welcome my friends amigos, tu pura vida vivo. Population smile 365. And every day it gets a little better. It's colder beer under warmer weather. And you're welcome to stay the rest of the day or the rest of your. Mis amigos, bienvenidos, pura vida vivo. Population smile 365. And every day it gets a little better. It's colder beer under warmer weather. And you're welcome to stay the rest of the day or the rest of your life.
Quiero invitarlos para que este sábado ingrese a la plataforma Inmerso y descubra las bellezas que tenemos en el Jardín Botánico La Catalina a través de nuestro tour virtual. Los esperamos sábado 9 de la mañana.
Wow, that was so uplifting. That music had me dancing in my chair. Music and wonderful images are such a mood uplifter. I think we should really congratulate Randall, and hopefully maybe he'll be watching this at some point, on an amazing self-promotion idea, and makes us fall in love with his destination. Next, we will be hearing from Vaughn and Adam. Vaughn Harden's a seasoned tour operator from the US with over 20 years experience, also an entrepreneur, and he is passionate about helping tour guides, tour managers, and tour businesses worldwide. He has founded and he manages the International Association of Tour Directors and Guides, and he will be speaking with Adam Connolly. Adam is an experienced senior travel professional with 20 years experience of recruiting and managing tour directors and tourist guides in the UK. He's a co-founder of Group Tour Professionals. He's also an advisory board member of the previously mentioned association. So representing the International Association of Tour Directors and Guides, a strategic partner to WFTGA. Welcome, Vaughn and Adam.
Thank you, Genevieve, for welcoming us, and good afternoon where you are, and I am. It is early morning where I am. I want to first thank Alushka for inviting us and offering us the opportunity to speak to you all today. Alushka has been an amazing leader for WFTGA, and it's been a real pleasure for us to work with. We're relatively new to the WFTGA community, but we've already had the pleasure to work with and exchange with many of your amazing members and speakers here today, like Jane Batee, James Saunders, and Eric Wolf, who just spoke, and also my good friend Mara Cardinato. So again, I am Vaughn Harden, and I'm joined by my partner, Adam Connolly, and we'll chat with you briefly about working in the new normal and identifying opportunities and adapting to employers' demands. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Genevieve, for that introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We haven't got too long to chit chat, so I'm going to go straight ahead with this, and hopefully you can all see that. Just put it in presentation mode. So, introduction to working in the new normal, identifying opportunities and adapting to employer demands. So in terms of the new normal, I think it's fair to say that we're quite early in that process of identifying what that new normal looks like yet. But I've pulled together some things here which I think everybody needs to be considering, especially now as you are either back out leading tours in some places, or you're starting to court tour operators, destination management companies, or whoever your previous clients were. I think one thing we're certainly seeing, I'm hearing from a lot of operators, is that they're going to need more flexibility. They're offering more flexibility to their customers because of the changing nature of the world environment. And that means things like late cancellation fees and etc. So you just need to factor that in and make sure you understand what agreement you're getting into with whoever is your hiring partner. For UK outbound tour operators, of course, there's the EU-UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which they have to navigate, which, again, too early to tell how that is going to seriously impact any UK-based tourist guides or tour leaders who want to travel into mainland Europe. The agreement says that if the tour starts in the UK, then that those tourist services are okay to be provided by the person starting the tour. However, also each country has kind of got its own little clause in there that they can only provide tourist services to groups by people who are a national of that country. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out over the next few years. You are likely going to be required to show proof of vaccination. Many operators have already said that that's going to be their policy. So you have to have a think about that. Customers are going to expect COVID-19 protocols. Eric spoke really well earlier about health and safety and about the fact that it should be an enabler and not a restrictive practice. Now, I could talk to you all day about health and safety. I won't, because Alicia would never speak to me again. But it is really, really important. You are going to have practice processes in place, potentially on your website or on paper, to explain to your clients beforehand what those processes are, because people will still be nervous about them. However, as a health and safety geek, COVID-19 is actually relatively low in terms of the risks that you are going to come up against on tour. The things like vehicle safety, food safety, general slip, trips and falls, that is still and will be far more prevalent in terms of a risk. So please don't ignore those. The COVID-19 protocols are something that customers are going to be more interested in, though. Groups may be required for the tourist guides to keep their customers away from crowds, which you're going to have to factor in when planning certain itineraries. Companies might not be willing to pay as much. Now, this is difficult to hear and it's difficult to type and it's difficult to say, but the reality is that many companies are hanging on by a thread, and when they restart operations, they are going to need to look at every cost possible. Now, I'm not in any way suggesting that you accept any low offers, but I just think it's something that you need to have on your radar for when you get back into those negotiations. Technology. Eva spoke earlier about the virtual tours theme and how that's become a lot more popular. Companies are going to require you to use technology a lot more, whether that's for social media, whether that's for planning routes, whether that's for delivering tours in a hybrid manner. So, for example, having a group of people with you physically on the streets and also streaming the tour to a group of people who are at home. These are all possibilities in our new world, and you need to get ready for the fact that that might be a demand of you. More varied customer types. Traditionally, we've kind of found that customer demographics come in groups, a bit like buses. Everyone comes together, the same age, same demographic, same background. COVID-19 has robbed everybody of that social interaction with their friends and family. Now, multi-generational travel was a trend before the pandemic, and I think we're going to see that really explode post-pandemic when people haven't been able to get together and they're going to use that travel and vacation time to spend time with each other. So you're going to have all of the age ranges, lots of different types of people with you. Companies are going to be more ethically minded. There's a big movement around how we travel back better, how we look after the environment better, and the socio-economic factors that we impact whilst on tour. So companies are going to look to you to carry on their message, deliver their message, and deliver any practices that they want to put in place whilst on the ground. Companies have been decimated, and many don't exist. Many exist now, may not exist throughout the summer. Those who have survived because most of their staff have left. Now, this is important to remember when you are dealing with that company and asking for technical itineraries, asking for instructions. You're going to need a lot of patience because there's an awful lot of expertise that will have left those businesses and it might not come back. So certainly this year, there are going to be I imagine some difficult conversations between tourist guides, those on the ground and those in the head office. And that gap, I think, between those who really know what's going on and those in the office is probably going to get a bit wider. So with all that, I would just make sure that your CV, your resume, or your website, if you have one, is bang up to date, and really shows whoever's looking at hiring you that you have all that flexibility in mind, you have all the knowledge, you've adapted your approach, you've adapted your product, and you've adapted your attitude and mentality for this new world that we live in. I think I've gone slightly over my 5 minutes, so I'm going to hand over to Von.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you shortening my time because I hate speaking. So I'll do my best. But let me be brief and just talk about, identifying new opportunities. So the first thing, which I think is probably the most, prevalent and the most popular right now, is the setting up of self-guided and online tours to bring in extra revenue. Eric spoke about it and in his presentation. So the pandemic obviously has, pushed the rise of Zoom and other online platforms, which has kind of blown the door off of opportunities and online experiences. So, guides can and have easily taken their show on the road. While this is certainly an amazing opportunity, and I believe it will certainly survive or live on after the pandemic, and I definitely wouldn't recommend abandoning your live tours when we reopen, but just adding this as an additional revenue stream. Personally, as a tour operator, which I also run a small tour company, I've done pretty well offering virtual experiences to schools and organizations, and it's actually, one of the only things that's really kind of kept us afloat. During this time. But, every guide or operator, whoever is offering this would, need to kind of find their own lane, find your own magic, because, it's not something that everyone will, get rich on, or it's going to be, something that's just, you're going to grow like gangbusters. You have to figure out if you're going to offer this to groups, you're going to offer it to individuals, and kind of make your plans accordingly. But I think there's an opportunity for both. And I definitely think it's a good, avenue to explore for guides. So the next thing I want to talk about briefly is just opportunities and in-person experiences. So the first thing I think would be create your own tour business and, sell tours directly to the public, which again, many of you thinking, well, I already do this, I already sell tours to the public. But specifically, I'm thinking about, when you create your online experiences, consider creating these, what we call destination experience operators, right? We call short for DEOs. Right. It's essentially what many of you do already. Again, just branding and packaging these experiences and marketing them as full-fledged local businesses. At Tour Pros, which is our one of the organizations that we run, we work with hundreds of these EEOs to support them in these type of businesses. Now, again, these are your local food tour operators, your local Segway tours, the bike tour operators. Anyone who kind of packages a local experience, whether it's a, whatever that experience may be, anything that you would see marketed under, let's say, for example, TripAdvisor, this would be your local experience. So consider, producing something like that and, setting it up and marketing on social media, getting your website and really, really packaging and marketing it, to the public as an additional revenue stream. People are also, another point is that people are also looking for smaller tours or smaller groups, I'm sorry. So, of course, people are exercising a lot more caution with social distancing. So as we reopen, you may want to consider that in your offer and also consider that in your pricing. The groups may be smaller, so you may need to offer more tours, or you may need to increase your pricing, or you may need to figure out something else creative that you can do to kind of supplement maybe the larger groups that you would have worked with now because of people's concern. And that may be a concern that it may be short-lived after the pandemic. It may be something that is just our new normal again. So it's something you want to consider. Also, in that same spirit, you want to differentiate or look at different trends, such as food and drink tours, which Eric's organization specializes in, or selfie tours, or what we call, quest, or scavenger hunts, just different unique things. I think a lot of people are looking for authenticity. I mean, I think that's a huge thing. I think that was a trend that was growing prior to the pandemic, and I believe will grow a lot more after the pandemic. So you certainly want to think about how you can differentiate, how you can have a unique and authentic experience that's unique to your destination or unique to your skill set and what you do, right? Because I think really people really appreciate that, especially tourists who come in from other places. They really appreciate that authentic touch, which they can't get elsewhere. The final point I wanted to make is that tour operators, traditionally employing tour managers or tour directors and local guides may want to combine their services. So for example, at IATDG, we work with a lot of big tour companies. Those tour companies hire our tour directors, or as they're called worldwide, tour managers, to sort of manage their tours as they go about. And then when they get to a destination, they will hire local guides, of course, again, to give them that unique, local, authentic touch. Well, in this situation, we may find, because a lot of operators are going to be in a push to kind of save money and reduce costs to kind of make up for their losses, we may find that there is a lot of these tour companies are looking to combine those services. They're basically looking to have and some of them have already been doing this for a while, but you may see more of it where their tour managers are also going to be their local tour guides. So what you may need to do to make yourself more marketable is increase your skills. I mean, learn new skills as it relates to tour managing and tour directing. We support that, again, heavily at IATDG, but different things that you need to manage a group, what we call over the road groups, right? Long-term groups, right? And look at opportunities in that. Because that would make you a little bit more marketable for these guides for these tour companies who may not be hiring local guides as much as they look to consolidate. So those are the points that we wanted to address. I know that I'm over my time, so I will release, and just let us know if we can be of any assistance to you at IATDG or at Tour Pros. And we're very excited about our partnership with WFTGA and the things that we're looking forward to offering, which you'll be hearing about in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Vaughn and Adam. That was really, really actionable content that our participants can just take away with. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next up, who is providing, those of you who were there yesterday, you know that we had music during the break. It's almost been 2 hours. I think we all need a break, and we always need a little bit of music. So Linnea, hopefully you are ready to join us. Linnea is an opera singer and she's a violinist. And in addition, she's also a qualified tourist guide in Stockholm and a member of FSAG. Linnea, thank you very much. So those of you who need to go on break, Linnea will play for about 8 to 10 minutes. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Great. Dear colleagues from all over the world, I'm Linnea from Stockholm, and I'm very happy to treat you with some Swedish folk music today. And I started out with a walking tune from the region Dalarna. And now a song about the very first time that I laid eyes on you, and that was a beautiful summer day. Den första gång jag såg dig, det var en sommardag. på förmiddagen då solen lyste klar och ängens alla blommor av många hundra slag det stod och bugande i par vid par och vinden drog så saktelig och nere in vid stranden där smög en bölja kärleksfull till snäckan ut i sanden. Den första gång jag såg dig, det var en sommardag. Den första gång jag tog dig ut i handen. Dra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ran, da-ra-ra-ra. And now I have a very old folk tune. Who can sail without a wind? Who can part from a dear friend without shedding tears? Vem kan segla förutan vind? Vem kan ro utan åror? Vem kan skiljas från vännens syn utan att fälla tårar? Jag kan segla förutan vind, jag kan ro utan åror, men ej skiljas från vännen min utan att fälla tårar. If I have one more minute, I will end with a tune. We will go back to the region of Dalarna. And this was a tune that was played when people would gather money to the fiddler. This is what I had. I have more, but I don't know if there is more time.
Thank you, Linnea. We would love to hear you all day. We will
Yes.
unfortunately have to move in
Yeah.
to our program.
Okay.
We thoroughly enjoyed that. You're a very talented lady. Thank you for agreeing
you very much.
to spend some time with us today. And hope you can join in for the rest of the conversation still.
Thank you.
So hope you enjoyed that break. We will now be back with our next speaker. I would like to welcome Ulrich. Just before that, just want to say that I have seen someone mention in the chat that the video will be played later at the end. So the Amazon video that was cut off. Ulrich, Welcome. You are the founder and CEO and the creative director of the Guiding Group Companies. You've been in the tourism service sector for over 20 years, and you are at the vanguard of digitizing guided tours. There's been a lot of talk about digital guided tours today, virtual tours, but you're actually going to be talking about a number of technological, content-related, operational innovations that are now today considered industry standards in the field of self-guided and guided tours. So I'm going to leave it off to you to talk to us about this, because I could go on and on, but I think you'll do it much better than I. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much for introducing. We are, by the way, based in Berlin and inventing technology for land operations and city walking tours since more than 10 years now. And yeah, I think the basic is the transformation from the old technology using the new smartphone world. So, you know, everything is going digital now, and everything is also going mobile now. So whatever you can do it on your smartphone. This is the direction where the whole planet is going. And then, well, in the industry of city guiding and tour guiding, this is what we are doing. And we have developed together with Scenic Tours. And I'm happy to have Lucas Sandmeyer here, the general manager from Scenic Tours Europe. And so I can show, if I may be presenter, and show a short video about a short introduction about the existing, let's say, latest product, which is running in real business as soon as we all run again. And then it's probably great, then Lucas can share his side from using it as a cruise line. So I just don't know if you see my screen and I'm presenter at the moment. Is it the case or not?
You may share your screen.
I may share my screen, so I think I'm gonna get that Bildschirm freigeben. Yes. Okay. So now you should see.
We see it.
You see it?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Thank you. So it's, as I told before, the revolution which is going on the whole planet. Everything goes mobile. And it's not just made for that, it's the right approach now for the corona security things, that you have better distance, that you do not have to sanitize third-party devices. It's also just better because you can use your beloved phone. And very important, we managed to let it run offline so that you do not struggle with any data roaming costs and so on. And that, I think this is the major point, that it's really running offline, so you can use it everywhere on the planet or inside a rock, wherever you want to be. And so it's not only safer, it's also better. And you see the picture of how it is working here. You have your smartphone and you just select the number of the tour guide, as you did 20 years now with the old technology, and we now use Wi-Fi technology on the smartphones, and the people can use their own smartphone. I think this is the core message, and I will show you now. Hopefully it works.
She's going to be the guide for you now to demonstrate. So it's it's easy to use. It's also 3 steps. Just switch on the box. Then plug in the microphone. And then adjust the microphone to your neck and your mouse. Meanwhile, the guest is downloading the application on the smartphone. Then starting the application. Just select the number of the box.
It is the box number 1.
Confirm. And meanwhile it's connecting, you can plug in your earpiece to comfortable listen while you're walking. It's already green, so I'm good to listen.
Bienvenue à la visite de Berlin. Oops. Welcome to the tour of Berlin.
Yeah. So thank you very much for this possibility to state how the actual product is working. And maybe now, if Lucas is still in, I don't see him, but he will be, can share about practical experience with that in the field of using onshore excursions on the river cruising.
Yes, I am here. Can everybody hear me? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Lucas.
And I can start my video now, huh? I'm allowed to. Okay, thank you, Ulrich, for giving me the opportunity to talk about the use of your technology. We have been like a launching carrier for this technology, but also way before that, we have had more than 10 years ago a vision that at one point we want to have technology assist our guests in their customer journey, providing them more than just a voice guide receiver. So maybe shortly for our company, should you not know the company, Scenic Luxury Cruises and Tours, we are a worldwide tour operator, originated in Australia, but now we are a worldwide tour operator. Our guests mostly come from the Anglo-Saxon market, that is Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA, and the UK. We operate, as I said, all over the world, but our main product is river cruises in Europe and a few ships in Southeast Asia. And we just added 2 years ago an ocean liner going to the Antarctica. So we would consider ourselves as specialists in river cruising, not so much in ocean cruising yet, but we're tapping into that water as well. And of course, we are also a land tour operator. We do motor coach tours throughout the world. Our biggest product there would be Canada and Alaska. So more than 10 years ago, we had this vision that we want to provide a little bit more than just a guide system or a guide receiver, voice guide receiver, and we got in touch with iTours. At that time, they were still called Cruiso, and they already had a tool that they used in Berlin for local cruising, canal cruise in Berlin, and they used that tool. So we used that technology, and our vision was that we have a system that gives us information along the route where the ships cruise. So like you have on an open top bus, we have it on our ships. And of course, this is not just local. This goes from Amsterdam all the way to the Black Sea, and it's in Portugal and on all the rivers in France. So we have many more points of interest that they had to develop for us. Then we also wanted to have, to give the guests an opportunity to explore the places that we visit with our ships on his own or her own, with self-guided city tours. And of course, it should also do the thing that I call it now a regular voice guide system does. It should also do that. And the vision was that we want this all in one device. And of course, it took many years and a lot of technology steps until we were at where we are at now. And we had all in one device, only to realize then that a guest doesn't necessarily want to use a foreign device that is rather complicated to explain, but that maybe he wants to use all this on his own device. So we started to develop the software solution, which Ulrich just presented. And the software solution we have introduced it in 2019, and it works. It's very good. Of course, and this we had to learn as we went along, like we did with all the things that we did with iTours. Not all the guests have a smartphone, so we also still needed to provide the hardware for those guests that don't either have a smartphone or didn't want to use their own smartphone to download an app, which they were not sure what it was all about. But the technology is great, works. It works in narrow roads for guides to guide. It has a vast reach. It works inside. It's easy. Now it is really easy to operate. I say now it's really easy because we had to do a few changes, and what Ulrich showed was the latest change, and it's really easy. It's like plug and play. Everybody understands it, even a guest that is absolutely not technologically savvy or a telephone user, a savvy telephone user. And of course, for us, it has many more other benefits. We not only use it for this, we not only use it as for a guide to guide through cities, but we also use it on our ships, for example, to have lectures, so that the guests don't need to come to the lounge to have lectures, but we tell them you can connect to this and this channel, and the lecturer can give a lecture to the people that are interested, and only the people that are interested, and the others, they can sit in the lounge and are not disturbed at all. Because there is limited space on a river cruise ship, these are really benefits that you can have. And then I'm sure we haven't found out all the benefits yet, because we continue to explore it. But we are excited with this cooperation, and it worked really well for us. So this as a short introduction. I'm gladly answer some question if you have.
Thank you, Ulrich and Lucas. We will revert you into the chat for questions. Unfortunately, we will have to move forward with our programming. But thanks for giving us an insight into what the future might look like, and some great tips for how technology is currently being used in your respective industries. So thank you, gentlemen. Our next presenter is Santosh Kalangi. Santosh is a product entrepreneur. He is the co-founder of TravStack. TravStack is a technology product suite that enables faster digitalization for tour operators and travel agents. It provides easy to adapt business growth tools that bring productivity and automation into daily operations. Santosh, welcome.
Thanks, Genevieve, for the introduction. Thanks. So I'll quickly share my screen. So just let me know when you are able to see my screen.
We see your screen.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So, hey, hello everyone from Singapore. So I don't know, like good morning, good afternoon to whichever parts of the world you guys have dialed in from. So it is very exciting to be here speaking to you all today. I would like to thank the Federation of Tourist Guides for inviting us. As Genevieve has already introduced me, I am Santosh, the co-founder of TravStack. So TravStack is a technology product suite for travel professionals. Currently, we are in Singapore as part of the Singapore Tourism Board Startup Accelerator program. So before I talk about TravStack, I would like to share a few things about travel post-COVID, the new normal, what we see, and how our solution can be relevant. So there are 4 key aspects to look out in the new normal of travel. The first one is the safety measures. Like all the travelers would be looking for information and guidelines on COVID, social distancing, the quarantine rules, and all these details. So they would be needing a lot of information on these aspects. And also there will be definitely a change in the group size. So travelers will be traveling in private and smaller groups, preferably with their family or close friends. Also, there would also be a change in the choice of places that they choose. So travelers will be preferring to move from commercial destinations to more offbeat and less crowded places, because that's where they feel secure and they would like to have a peaceful trip for themselves. Also, the last and the fourth one is tailor-made travel. So with smaller group sizes, customers will expect customized travel plans with a lot of flexibility. Now that now that we talk about the new normal, it is also important to also understand the digital disruption that has happened in the last 1 year. Apart from travel, digital disruption has created huge impact on sectors like education, food, and also the way we meet. So there's definitely a need for digital adoption even in the travel space. Also, if you look at the landscape, the digital consumers have been on the rise, and a lot of them have been booking directly with the airlines or the hotel websites. So it is definitely high time for the tour guides to go online and establish a direct relationship with the customers. Now that we know the need for digitalization, let's try to look at an ideal digital portfolio. The portfolio should let your customers know your skills and your specialization and the unique experiences you offer. It is also important to create interesting circuits like domestic circuits, which include heritage tours, food walks, or cycling trips that would entice the traveler to buy. Also, it is important to build one's own niche and also establish a direct connection with the customer, because that's how you can actually understand the customer better. Also, it's important to be flexible to actually customize these experiences for the traveler, because they will be expecting a lot of tailor-made travel and customizations in the future. Coming to TrackStack, TrackStack provides you all the tools you need to walk the path of digital transformation. We offer a front-end web store along with content creation and content management tools. We also give you content templates with a lot of data integrations and content distribution in different forms. We also provide a smart circuit designer, which helps you develop new products that cater to the change of travel behavior or the customer needs. It helps you create visually rich itineraries, optimize the map routes as per the customer needs, and also share them in different forms. Lastly, we also offer an intuitive dashboard and travel CRM that helps you smoothly communicate with your customer and efficiently manage your day-to-day operations, be it the lead management, your bookings, or even systemizing your workflow. Coming to our value proposition, we offer a digital identity with a rich user experience both on web and mobile. We also offer you tools to include interactive media, photos, videos to engage with your customers. As I previously pointed out, we also offer an intuitive dashboard and a CRM for your day-to-day operations. We also provide multiple payment system integrations along with booking management. Also, it is quite easy to share the content or the experiences or the circuits you create in the form of a PDF, a video, a machine-generated automatic video, or even a web link. To sum up the conversation that we had now, the tourist guide in the future should be able to market their own skill, tap into their own customer base, and personalize experiences for them. It's also important to create interesting products and circuits so that you adapt to the changing behavior of the traveler, and also include a lot of offbeat destinations and hidden gems. And of course, deliver the whole experience to the tourist once the travel reopens. I would like to thank the audience for giving their time to listen to us. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it on the chat box or reach out to me on my email or mobile. And if anyone wants to know more about TrashTag, please scan this QR code to sign up for a trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. If you want to stay behind a little bit, I'm sure people will put questions either in the Q&A box or the chat box for you. So thank you. And I really like the idea that is very simple, but fundamentally, if your customers are online, you got to get there too. So, good takeaway. So thank you. We will move on to our next presenter. Václav he joined Smart Guide in 2018, and he's been participating in a revolution in the guiding industry. He's the Chief Business Development Officer and co-founder of Smart Guide, and he's responsible for negotiating partnerships with large partners in the travel industry, like the Singapore Tourism Board, the Shangri-La Group, Harvard University, Deutsche Bahn, just to name a few. Live from the absolutely beautiful city of Prague, welcome, Václav.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Greetings from sunny and freezing Prague. I would like to thank the Singapore Tourism Board for recommending us for this presentation, and thank you all for your interest. Just very briefly, Smart Guide, our mission is actually to turn everybody's phone into a personal tour guide. And now let me please just share my screen with a presentation and to tell you a little bit more. Can you see my screen well?
Yes. Oh, now it's loading.
Beautiful. So, yeah. Beautiful. Well, our mission is really to extend the guiding market with the individual and contactless augmented reality driven guide. And that's what we have been doing for the last 3 years. So we extend the guiding to the wider audience. That's really our mission by turning the tourists into explorers through the storytelling. So as you know, there are the outdated technologies like the paper or the unhygienic audio guides. And of course, the number of the people who take the personally guided tours is in the single digits, in percentage of the number of visitors, right? So we, really aim at serving the underserved huge opportunity, being it the people who book, experiences at the last moment, being it the people with certain disabilities, with families, being it people who are more independent in general. So this is really our big mission. And of course, as you know, the tourists want to explore the destinations independently instead of risking the COVID-19 in the crowded, guided tours. So we saw, for example, based on the McKinsey research, only 15% of the even Chinese tourists actually want to take guided tours, in this period. So that's why the solution we felt already back then when we guided Smart Guide is really to turn the phone again into a COVID-safe, individual, and convenient personal tour guide. So we built basically one platform where you now have 400 destinations in a single app with pre-planned self-guided audio tours, which people can actually download fully offline, including the audio and the augmented reality. And then there is the guiding engine. So as the people walk, the engaging stories automatically trigger based on their location. Right, and on the iPhones, people can enjoy the augmented reality, which means navigation, which means that if they're lost or there is something special, when we prompt them, they turn on the AR. There is this avatar which pops up and greets them, and then we show them where they should continue and where the next points of interest or stops on the tour. And of course, the platform is already available in 7 world languages at the moment. And here you can see that we really feel that the AR is actually the best use case. The travel is the best use case for the augmented reality. after gaming. So just very quickly, of course, augmented reality augments when you're in the destination, what do you see, right? Unlike the virtual reality, because we don't want to support people traveling from the couch, which is nowadays unfortunately necessary, but we feel that this is not what travel is really about, right? So here you can see actual recording from the old town square in Prague. You can see that we can also do a little bit more custom things in the augmented reality, and we are going to continue working on that further. When you can have some, image recognitions of the buildings, you can actually recreate how the buildings and show how they looked a few hundred years ago, centuries ago, and so on. So there is actually many more things to do, even on the phones, and of course later on when the glasses will be more practical and more widely available. This is actually going to become a very attractive and viable option, we believe. What's the actual goal? Well, the visitors actually get much more out of their visit, right? Because we guide them based on their personalized recommendation, the personalized recommendations based on their interests. They can explore the place on their own. They don't have any crowds to follow, which is much safer as well, of course. But most importantly, and I guess that's what the mission of the guides, in the audience as well, they learn more and they understand the essence of each place much deeper. And that, of course, we can also, they enjoy consuming the multimedia, so watching videos. They can see photos of the interior, for example, which they can actually see in the full quality instead of a printed photo. And of course they stay safe from COVID, right? Because again, it's a contactless guide, and it guides people to the less crowded places on their own. And what we offer to the guides, of course, is that they can on their own for free, of course, use our content management system to actually upload the content, to digitize themselves in a few hours, and then this way create, and put their own tours onto the platform without any IT development, of course, no maintenance, and they can actually sell their tours on our platform, right? Of course, they have the visibility and the recognition as the author, and the guide profile, including the website and the phone, because of course we want the people, when they actually enjoy the pre-arranged tour, to be able to contact the guides to actually arrange the private tour with them, where we don't take any business in that or any cut, right? So the revenue is shared 70-30, 70 for the guide, of course, and that's basically how it simply works. So the guide can only guide 1 or 2 groups, say, per day, but there can be another 50 people who take their tour actually per day, right? So this is actually a great passive income, and now is actually the best time to actually do so, when unfortunately many guides don't cannot really guide the visitors in person. So of course we take care of all the maintenance technologically, and then of course the other value add is that we work with the big partners who distribute the content to hundreds of thousands of tourists. So for example, we worked with the Deutsche Bahn on the project where we actually made the AR avatar also more interactive. So whenever people took the train from Heidelberg to Frankfurt, they actually could get off the train and they would be guided actually also in person. Or the biggest transportation company in Central Europe gives the smart guide with every ticket in over 40 destinations. Finally, there are chains of hotels who actually offer to their guests the smart guide platform as a digital concierge, right? And it actually works. So we have over 400 destinations at the moment, over 300,000 users, and we work with the big partners like Harvard, many UNESCO sites, Deutsche Bahn, your official app of Prague, or with the National Heritage Board of Singapore. Now, I just wanted to actually mention one, use case, which I think are example, which actually describes well how this works. We actually got a support from the Czech government to support the local tourism in the regions, and so we offered the Smart Guide platform to the local DMOs, to the destinations, to the attractions, but most importantly to the local professional guides. And through the association, but most importantly directly. And actually, we then just coordinated and enabled technically that they could actually, publish the guides. And then all these partners help us to actually, again, offer and distribute the application and the platform to the Czech and later foreign visitors, to actually motivate the people to not to visit the hotspots like the UNESCO sites, but actually to go to the under-visited regions to support the local economy there as well. And of course, again, there is the recognition of the authors of the guides who who earn money with it. So, when we worked with the Prague City Tourism, we proved this concept works. We actually motivated 30% of the tourists to explore beyond the hotspots, the Charles Bridge and the places which everybody goes to. So, this works really well, and it can be done on the country level or regional level as well. And so as a result, we got about 80 authors, 80 guides who published until now about 50 destinations in the last 3 months. And, we are waiting for the rest to be finished so that we are ready for the smart restart, for the reopening, to actually also with the big, industry partners, like, let's say, some, beverage companies, like local, say, Coca-Cola and so on. We will actually motivate again at scale the local domestic tourists to really explore the regions, consuming the content which is actually authentic, which is prepared, the stories again written by the local guides, who will again receive the passive income coming from that. And we are now replicating the same thing in Peru and hopefully in other countries and regions very soon. So we encourage you also to have a look as the guide associations, whether there are not similar programs like the Turismo Emprende in Peru, which actually where we work with the local guides to actually again modernize and also to train the guide community in the Cusco area to actually get digital and to get onto the platform which actually works. So again, I hope that many of you will be ready to help to restart the tourism in your regions, and that you will find this offer interesting. And I'm of course here to answer any questions or of course provide more details. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Václav. I'm going to keep you there for a minute because while you've been talking, there has been a flurry of reactions in the chat, which is great because we are provoking conversations, we are provoking thoughts, and not everything is for everyone, but you've done an amazing job of making tourist guides realize that there is some competition out there. They need to adapt, they need to learn the tools, not work against them, and that if you are creative and you're entrepreneurial and you want to learn things, there's a number of ways that you can drive business to your guiding business, and that being one of them. So that conversation will continue. But thank you for bringing that. You and Santosh did a good job of presenting alternatives, but also just making us think of what's out there, where it's going, and how tourist guides can transfer their skills laterally and really get to the customers where they currently are. So awesome presentation, and I'm sure you'll stay behind and interact with people in the chat and the Q&A box, as many questions out there are for you.
I'll be happy to do so, and we definitely don't want to be a competition at all. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. We will have a slightly different session next. We're going to have a small panel, which we will welcome back some of our speakers that we saw before. Vaughn and Ulrich will join us, and we will also be joined by George de Puter and James Saunders from the International Association of Tour Managers. So welcome to all four of you. And James, I believe that you will be picking it up from here and moderating this Q&A.
How I moderate George and Vaughn is totally beyond me. I will do my best. Hello, everybody. My name's James Saunders. I'm one of these people who've got a foot in both camps, that I work both as a tourist guide and am with TGAT, the Toronto Tourist Guide Association. I'm also with IATM, the International Association of Tour Managers, and I'm also involved a little bit with VON, with IATDG. The only person I'm not involved with is Ulrich and Eric. So sorry guys, but I do like my food. So I have to mention one thing. I got a message from Von that he has to run away and do something fairly quickly. So we'll probably start with Von. I will though ask George to introduce himself first of all, very briefly, and then we're going to open it up, and I've got a couple of little points to start a conversation. George.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is George de Poorter with an R after the two O's. I'm the chairman of IATM, the International Association of Tour Managers. I used to do a lot of outgoing tours, but now I do most incoming tours, getting a bit older. So that is more or less what I do. In a previous life, and I mean before the 21st century, I was a naval officer in the Belgian Navy, had a full career. And so my knowledge about warfare and things like that has helped me as also as a battle tour guide. That's in short. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start with Von. We're looking at the whole theme behind this is unpacking opportunities. So as far as I've read the mandate, we're all representing various things. And we're talking about what we can do for our membership or what we can provide to people that we're meeting. Von, how would you see the unpacking of opportunities? So you mentioned a little bit about the virtual world.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned in the talk that Adam and I did a bit ago, there's certainly good, a wealth of opportunities in virtual experiences. And I can speak to that as an operator who's done them over the last few months and has really kind of, kept us alive when all the touring had stopped. Now understand, there's been a great debate, obviously, as if this is something that is viable, or let me say, if it's something that is, just a bunch of hype, or is it something that people can realistically make money doing? And I would certainly say that it is something that is real. I don't think that it's, maybe something for everyone, but I think that if you find a unique niche and find a unique market, it very much can be beneficial to you as a guide. I mean, as an operator, I market to schools and other organizations, but I think certainly as a guide, you could do the same. It's just about creating your unique experience and creating your unique offer and finding out how to tailor that to people who need it and people who want it. Because especially right now, like I said in the talk, I think these online experiences is something that can survive the pandemic, and they can live on past the pandemic and be profitable as people become exposed to these opportunities. And we have tools like Zoom and other platforms that can deliver them and make them accessible for all of us to create and to receive. Again, I think that, finding your, what you're passionate about, what your specialties or what you're good at doing, and that's sort of unique and who you can offer it to. And I think that's the key, because I think so many people are putting out these tours which they'll offer to the general public, and look for a bunch of one-off signups, which I think it can work, and you can sign on to these platforms that'll take a commission in return for marketing this to the public. I think there's a lot more opportunity in finding organizations, because there's a lot more money in organizations and a lot less work. Instead of looking for individuals to maybe give you $30 or $50 a pop for a tour, I think finding an organization who might pay $1,000 to deliver it to all of their members or all of their guests, it's just something that you should explore a little bit more. It may take more work on the front end, but on the back end, I think it would pay a lot more in terms of dividends. But this is something that you don't have to worry about putting a ton of money into, because you have the knowledge, you have the skills already to do this, and you have the tools, which are relatively cheap, which is like what we're using right now, Zoom and other platforms. But it's just you putting in that sort of sweat equity and that hustle and going out and finding these organizations that are interested in that, whether it's a local school group or a homeschool group or a company or a nonprofit association that's looking to deliver this thing on a virtual conference or whatever the case may be. I think there's a ton of opportunity in that. Again, also, I think for those of you who haven't already, direct tours, destination experiences, like what, a lot of the members of Eric's organization, Food Tour Travel Association, they do food tours, and then you have people who do bike tours or Segway tours or boat tours or different sort of experiences in that way. I think that there's a big opportunity to get involved with organizations like Eric's and other organizations that market these local experiences. Someone mentioned earlier that, of course, the laws and the guidelines vary by country or by city. So yeah, some are going to be a little bit more restrictive. And in those instances, I would recommend maybe partnering with a local organization that is licensed to offer these. And yeah, you may have to give up a little bit or give up a commission or find some benefit for that organization. But I think creating these authentic experiences that people can't really go and get elsewhere. Your personality, your product, your this area more than anyone. And I think that's appealing to a tourist. So
Thanks. I'm going to have to try to catch you short, Ron. And you say I'm talking too much, but I've got to pass along a little bit.
No worries.
George, I'm going to deal with George next. You are representing a group of people who are over the road tour managers doing multi-day trips and so on. That's the primary focus, set all over the world, 6 continents. How do you see the future for your members? How do you see them interacting with the World Federation? What do you see that you can be unpacking for your members coming up in the future, please?
Yes, well, first of all, we must see that 2021 is a year of transition, and our members think that finally in the future, when we don't know, there will be a full recovery. However, this crisis is just an opportunity to rethink, reboot, and find new interactions between tourism and society, not forgetting ecological aspects. We come to that by signing up to other organizations like the Tourist Manifesto and so on. Our members, I found out, made a click, and they look for alternatives, waiting for the world to restart. And these alternatives, from some members I know, they are doing language courses. Others are developing, it was mentioned here, so culinary skills, yes. Looking for to organize future cooking workshops and things like that. So they are busy finding alternatives, reworking it. But it is important that for a tour manager and a tour guide, that the local authorities, like the cities like Bruges and Ghent, and operators listen to them, listen to their input, the input from the base, because that is something that doesn't happen quite often. They have their programs and they see, let's say, a restart in the old ways. Now, that is something that we have to rethink. Now, IATM itself is certainly looking for new partners in the industry. And I think that this panel here, well, there are possibilities for you to work together with IATM. We have things to propose and to receive. Now,
I'm going to have to cut you short in a minute as well, George. I've got limited time and I'm getting little messages.
Just to finish, we would like to put a bigger importance into education and training, especially with durable tourism and, well, introduction to new technologies for the members, as long as they stay human. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. I would add, George and I have been on a meeting since 5 o'clock my time this morning already. Anyway, I'm going to pick on Ulrich next. How do you feel that your technology, which is wonderful, you know, how are you going to roll that out on a smaller scale? You were talking a little bit about, you know, working with a major tour operator who has the money to go out and buy themselves an ocean-going ship. How will you be able to go to Von and say, Von, you know, I can help your members with this, and George, I can help your members with that? How do you see that your technology, which would be a great help to both tour managers, tour guides, how are you going to get this to a level that would be, say, affordable, and that would help us reach out?
Yes, James, thank you very much for this great question. This is really, let's say, a passion and heart project from mine. You know, the companies who are doing the different technologies from to supply to the bigger tour operators, they are all under an umbrella level called Guiding Group. And from my vision, the Guiding Group goes in a direction that in every city, there's a partner of Guiding Group. And in every city, there's at least one or a few who are willing to share the smart box to all the other local guides who can use it. So we are soon starting this network to support, let's say, to grow from the base, to build a forest where we all belong together and have the use of the technology together. Also, maybe people want to involve them into new steps of development. So yes, we are inviting local guides to also change their business model in a way that they can be hosting the local smart box for the local partners or even their competitors, however you see it, but it's like a family working together, because we know that we need hardware for a longer time, because we know that the online thing does not always work stable. And we have developed that. So of course, it would be theoretically wonderful if we don't need hardware, but in reality, we will need it. So there is a place for everyone who wants to involve himself, herself in this Guiding Group. That's the vision. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask the panelists a little question. And again, wearing many hats that I do, getting feedback from my members and various other friends that I know all over the world. How important do you think that when we go back, you know, we've got this in, you know, I'm walking around, I've got one of your boxes, I've got virtual reality, I've got this, but how important do you find as panelists that these people are going to actually want the human touch? They're actually going to want to deal with somebody on a human level, even if it's a social distance. How important do you think that is going to be coming up? I'm going to do Von, George, and then Ulrich. You know, and I think this will be a little bit of a summing up because I've got a message saying we've got a 5-minute warning.
Okay, so I'll be brief. I definitely think the need for human interaction and human touch on, on a very personal level will never go away. Just like, with travel, even with the pandemic, travel will never go away, will always return. I think that's the cornerstone of tourism, right? Tourist guides and tour managers and the people who are on the front line of delivering these tours, there will always be a need for that. Again, this is something I think when we focus on it, it's primarily now because we have to. It's sort of what we have to default to. But, and again, while it's something that can survive, it will never replace human interaction and human touch. And I don't think there's ever anything that can replace the tourist guide delivering these tours. So yeah, I definitely think that will always remain the key element of tourism.
Thank you. George.
Yes, certainly. Certainly as tour managers who will assist people in the hotels and things like that. And as tour guides, we certainly need the human aspect. And I think one of the things, humor is very important, yes. And if you put that in a technological box, it may make people laugh, but not when you are human and you are not only a guide, but also an artist and a comedian.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Ulrich.
Well, our smart box is a tool for the local guide. So we are fully counting on this personal level on city guiding. Sure, absolutely. And technology from my perspective, from our perspective, shall be supportive, shall get away from things the local guide do not want to do, and shall support him to maybe show some additional video while he is explaining and why he is entertaining. So it's additionally technology, I think. It will never really replace a full process on that level. And for the travelers, I guess it's very important to have a local person to get in touch and feel the heart and feel what's going on in this level of connectivity between humans. Sure, that's why we travel, I guess.
Okay, I think we're kind of done. We were given a little time frame and it was sort of get people together, talk about what we're involved in. And again, I think it's very important that we all work together on many levels. We're all friends. We can all do things to help each other. You've all got our contacts. And I'd like to thank my fellow panelists. And I'd also like to thank everybody at the World Federation for giving us a chance to join into your conference. Thank you very much. Good luck to everybody in the future. And thank you on behalf of my panelists.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you. And Eric is no longer with us. He was to participate in the chat and in the panel. Unfortunately, he also had to leave. So thank you, James, for moderating that. And to all four of you for unpacking for us and reinforcing for us what's been said in the presentations before, and helping, I think, tourist guides and anyone in the industry in tourism to slowly move beyond the shock that we all experienced, and I think we're still experiencing this, and the fear of what's ahead. And understanding that there will be a transition period, but that resiliency is slowly setting in, adaptation is unbelievable, and that there are tools out there. And these tools are getting better and better. And this year was a great catalyzer for innovation. The tools, when we thought something might take 2 or 3 years to develop, it took 2 months. And finally, for just reiterating that the need for personal and human experiences will prevail. So next up, Sebastian Frankenberger. He's a tourist guide in Germany and Austria. He is the CEO of the Tourism Academy, guidetraining.com. And incidentally, he's also been the tech master behind WFTGA's website, technical setup forums, and this particular conference. He's been my lifesaver, and I'm incredibly thankful for him. So Sebastian is going to talk to us about augmented reality and virtual reality. Welcome.
Oh, hello, everybody, and thank you for this introduction. I'm talking about augmented reality and virtual reality. I want to do a small case study how my guides and my guide company interact with all that. So you have said everything about I have to thank my team, which is also behind all that. Thank you for helping us managing everything so smooth here. So let's talk about augmented reality. What is augmented reality? It is, I would say it's just we're adding elements to a live view. You can do this with your smartphone, but you also can do that. We all know Pokemon Go. I think we walked around catching all these things in the street, but you also can do this with a typical Snapchat lens. Yeah, just here you find me on Snapchat as Frank. I would say, I should definitely use a new haircut. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality implies a complete new immersive experience. You create a virtual room. It's for computer gamers, but you can test a lot of things. But you move around with your head, and you really feel that you're into it. I want to show you 3 apps that we use. We'll use a lot of more apps, but in the case study, just a few apps. Visit Linz app. This is from the Linz Tourism Board. It's an amazing app because it's like Pokemon Go. You walk around and you have to catch this amazing cake, the Linz it's a torte. It's a little bit hazelnut dough with raspberry marmalade, a little bit cinnamon. It's delicious. And what is it? It is interaction. I use it in one point of my tour just to mix it up a little bit, the tour with tech, to have storytelling in my tour because it fits to the story of Linz. Linz is the creative city, and I work together with the tourism board. So I use their app. I use it for my tourists. That fits very well together, and it's storytelling, the tech. Oh, another beautiful castle in our region. There a nice river down there. But what is the castle? So I can explain my guests what they can do, and I want to do a live demo with you now. So I use my smartphone. I go on the Google app or Google Lens. I just get the castle in the view. I tap on it, and Google is saying, oh, this is Castle Rosenburg nad Flatterwoe. And you can do that in any museum with the pictures, also not with faces, with humans, but the rest. So the people have Wikipedia always in their pocket. We have to give another experience. And that's what I want to say. We guides, we can be the guides of the elder generation. We're doing that a lot with the river cruise companies. We're showing the people how their smartphone is working, what they can do, what they have in their pocket. It's a new role for me as guide, explaining them. And it helps a lot to reduce the fear of the digitalization. I think that's great because you know what happened when people have fear of the future. Another short demo, we go into Linz, to Vienna. I have to take my my iPad, and I want to show you, this is the Albertina Museum, and I want to step back into the time of the World War II, of when this museum was destroyed. This building to the right is not longer standing there. 300 people died there, are buried below that building. So you can really bring things up what the people can't see. And now, oh, this is my favorite one here. This is also virtual reality now. We have created the time of Kaiser Franz Joseph, of Sissi. You can see here Sissi stepping out of the carriage. And Emma's
Sebastian, your screen
we have
has
no more time. I should go to the next one. The next one is, you can get the people deeper into epochs. You can a better understanding for the context. We guides, we must be the experience for the people, not the technology. The technology supports me, that the people understand big pictures from former times to nowadays, what's going on in their life, and technology can support me with that. And that's, for me, it is it's not a one way. We all have to use it in the future. It helps me. It supports me in my tours. It can be, yeah, that's right. It can be a complete new tour for teenagers. But I think more it's a new role, how I understand guiding in the future. And I want to sum up, hey, isn't it cool, the new technology? Let's try augmented reality. Let's try virtual reality. Let's try the Smart Guide app from Prague, because it's no witchcraft. It can be fun. It can help engage guests, especially teenagers, and take fear of digitalization. And I want to end with one of my favorite quotes from Vincent van Gogh. What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? So thank you. Go to our website, join the newsletter. We do webinars. The next one will be about virtual tours in April, and perhaps in the summer one about augmented and virtual reality. And back to you.
Thank you, Sebastian. I can feel the passion. I can feel the passion. I think we can all feel your passion for technology. And even if we don't all share the same level of passion, I think your message of trying it ourselves before even attempting to get on these platforms, trying them as customers is a good tip. So thank you for that passion. Next, we will be hearing from Michael Dillinger. He's been a professional tourist guide for 12 years, over 12 years. He's licensed in New York City and Washington, D.C., two very different and amazing cities, certified by Guides Association of New York City. And he's also a certified international tour manager from the International Guide Academy of Denver. Michael, your perspective on all of this will be very welcome. And you'll be talking to us about a new tool, yet again, live from New York. Michael Dillinger.
Well, hello, can you all hear me? I'm always worried about my microphone not working because I've got an old computer.
You're good.
Great. So prior to COVID, most of my business was I was hired by companies to either take groups over the road in big buses or to do vehicle tours here in New York City with dozens of people. Once COVID hit, all of that evaporated. And as COVID continued on, I realized that, well, the problem is that those big group experiences are not coming back anytime soon because people are really worried about their health. And so I decided I would pivot and start offering more private tours, customized tours. And I built a new website, and then I had to promote the website. So I got a Facebook page. I got the YouTube channel. I got Instagram. I got all this stuff going. But I thought about TikTok and I was like, oh, that's just a bunch of crazy kids doing silly dances. Why bother? Because that is not my market. They're not going to buy a private tour from a tour guide. However, TikTok has changed as well because of COVID. More and more people are signing up for TikTok, and the different people that are signing up for it, and it's become a wider market. All sorts of different information is being shared. So I started to look at it and I thought, maybe I can use this somehow to promote my business. Well, the first few were dismal. I ended up with 7 followers and 4 likes after posting about 4 or 5 videos. But I was like, well, it's going to be a slow process, but eventually this may build into something because they've got a very unusual kind of algorithm and you can reach a much wider audience. So I was going around the city and I'm looking at ways to kind of promote the city and promote myself. And there was an exhibit at Grand Central Terminal called The Da Vinci of Debt. And it was to put a focus on student debt here in the United States by using diplomas and whatever. It was by the Anheuser-Busch Company because they have a fund that helps students pay off. And I posted this video and it blew up. And I'm going to, if I can share my screen, I can show you. I went from, hang on a second. Let's see, share screen. Here we go. So hopefully you can see this. And so I went from 7 followers to 369 followers. I got 73,000 more likes. And the video in question reached over 500,000 people. It's right here. I'm going to click on this and see if it's only 18 seconds long. Hopefully you'll get to see it.
Wait. Got one. Go.
Stop that. So what happened? How did I get that? Well, some of it was a happy accident. Some of it was the hashtags I used. I used student debt. I used GCT for Grand Central Terminal. But what really happened is that people who found this, it started a conversation. All of a sudden, there was this back and forth, people making comments and people talking back and forth and back and forth. And it just really blew up. And what I realized at that point is that over 500,000 people for the first time saw my company's name. They were able to see, now not all of them will become followers, but they know that, and some of the followers will share some of my videos with their friends perhaps at times and recommend it. So this is actually a great marketing tool. Now, you can go far beyond that. You could actually, if you really do the work, you can build yourself up. If you get more than 1,500 followers, you can start doing live events. There is a way to monetize those over time, although it really takes a tremendous number of people to actually make the monetization worthwhile. But as a way to promote yourself and promote your tours, you are crazy not to look at this, because this is going to be something that more and more people will be looking at into the future. And I think it's a game changer. I think it's as necessary as things like Twitter. I think you should be using all of these techniques that they've talked about today in every way you can to promote yourself and put yourself out there in this new market. And I am not shy about sharing. So if anybody wants to talk to me one-on-one about how to do it, because there's a lot of like little weird workarounds that you have to figure out to actually edit things the way you want, but I am happy to do that. And I'm putting in the chat right now my email address, and just email me, just put in the subject line WFTGA TikTok so I'll know where it came from, and I'll be happy to talk with you and talk you through some of how to work with TikTok as a guide. And there's much more that I can do that I've just scratched the surface, but I have to tell you, this is a great tool and you should not be afraid of it. You should not be afraid of any of these new things. I know there's been this discussion now about all these different things, but you know what? The world is changing and we've got to be ready for it. So that's about all I have for you, I think. I tried to keep it short and sweet, and hopefully you'll find it useful.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. The way I see it, you know, and you've convinced me to go and check TikTok out. I have to say, I consider myself an early adopter of technology. And TikTok has been kind of that frontier for me, but you've convinced me that I'm going to go and check it out. And you know, I'm listening to all of you guys, and I'm a facilitator. I used to travel conferences, so you know, contrary to you guys, where people would come to you, I would need to get on a plane to go and do a speech or facilitate a workshop or a training with my clientele. So this totally resonates to me. Now I facilitate virtual meetings. A year ago, I hadn't done that. So it's really resonating, all of these, you know, adaptation and needing to understand how our profession is changing. But the way I see it is TikTok, you know, AR, VR, smart guides, they're all different tools. It's a hammer and it's a wrench and it's a ruler, and it all goes in my toolbox, and not all of us are going to use all of them. But you know, there are these tools out there. So
they've got great little editorial things you can do in there. They will select the music for you. They'll recommend it. And the music was another thing that made that video go viral, because it was a piece of music that was trending at that time, and I didn't even know it. I just said, "Okay, you recommend it, I'll use it."
Awesome. Well, keep around and interact in the chat. We will do a very quick poll just to kind of feel the pulse out there. You guys will see a couple of questions pop up now that we've talked so much about technology usage. Just give us an idea of how many of you are already using these things. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to respond. Great. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. We'll see the results a little later. We will now move on to our last speaker, Adolfo Reyes. He is an experienced consultant with over 20 years working in the travel and tourism sector. Adolfo is head of membership and associates at the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC. He's responsible for developing a program to support small and medium-sized organizations and incorporate priorities and actions in the council. Live from Spain, Adolfo has been waiting to speak to us for a while. Welcome, Adolfo, and muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Genevieve. Let me just share my screen right now, so I'll get everything ready here. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Yes, we can see.
Excellent. Thank you very much again, Genevieve and Alusha, for inviting me and inviting WTTC to speak at this virtual conference with the World Federal and Tourism Guide Association. I'm going to be providing a brief perspective on the global, what's going on globally, and what we see as a World Travel and Tourism Council, how we see travel and tourism recovering in the future. Let me just start by letting some of your assistants know who WTTC is. The World Travel and Tourism Council represents the private sector in travel and tourism. We are the voice of the sector. We represent more than 200 organizations, some of the largest corporations in the world. You see in your screen just a snapshot of some of those organizations. And we cover all the different travel verticals in travel, from airports, airlines, cruise lines, destinations, tour operators. I know many of you as tourist guides work with tour operators. So we represent the voice of the sector. We are a large organization in terms of the reach for these members, which in many cases, or in most cases, the CEOs are the members of the organizations. But we don't only represent the big corporations. We also have a small and medium-sized membership to represent the PYMEs or the SMEs in the travel and tourism sector. And it is very important to have this voice as well, because the SMEs represent about 80% of travel and tourism overall, and are a big chunk of the jobs that are created in travel and tourism. So that's kind of an introduction to WTTC. One of the things we do at WTTC as well is to measure how travel and tourism is growing year over year, how the different countries are doing. And right before the pandemic, travel and tourism was growing 10 years in a row, faster than the GDP, so faster than the economy, until COVID-19, of course, hit very, very hard our sector, as you all know. But I want to mention that this is not the last time it has happened. We have had crises before. We had the economic crisis back in 2008, 2009. And travel and tourism was able to recover very fast, as you can see in the screen at the bottom side of the screen. And also after 2000, 2003, it took us a little bit longer to recover, but travel and tourism is always going to bounce back from the crisis. So we are ready to recover, and travel and tourism will recover. We are a very, very important economic driver for every country in the world. So what's the current situation? We have estimated that more than 174 million jobs have been impacted. This doesn't mean that the jobs have been lost. Many of them have, but in some instances, people have been in part-time jobs or in furlough schemes, and it's a 65% of the overall employment in travel and tourism. We're also seeing that countries are applying different rules in different circumstances, even within a country. Different states and different areas are applying different rules. So it's not simple for a regular citizen to move around, right? There's different types of tests, the PCR test, the LAMP test, the antigen tests. This also makes it complicated because governments have not been able to come together and define what is the right mix and when each of these tests have to be used depending on the type of travel. So we are advocating for governments to agree on some of these things, and you'll see in my upcoming slides. Also, the vaccination rollout, we know this is going to take time. Some countries are doing great in terms of vaccination, but this is going to take quite some time for the entire population to get the vaccines. We also see the growth of digital passes, which is going to enable governments to open up the borders more easily to get back international travel flowing again. There are no clear rules for mobility. Again, different countries applying different rules, some of them applying blank quarantines, which we are totally against to those things. The protocols at each destination might also be different. So there's complete disarray and no coordination on that from the governments. And we are advocating for that. What do we need to learn we need to learn from the past to be able to adapt to the current situation and for any other upcoming problems that we may face. As I mentioned before, the outbreak right now is probably the one that has struck travel and tourism the hardest in all the history of travel and tourism. But there are other events that we can learn from, like the terrorism and security attacks, which represent 32% of the crisis that we have recorded since 2001. Also natural disasters and political instability. All of these things affect travel and tourism. As you can see in the upper graph, how it would depend how long do we take as a sector to recover, and how if we're able to work and collaborate together to recover faster than if we work in silos. And right now what we're seeing in this past year is that we have been working in silos, and we have to do more to work together to put the measures in place to reactivate travel and tourism in the less time possible. As you can see, the diseases and outbreaks and the political instability take between 10 months and 19 or up to 22 months for us to recover. So the faster we're able to coordinate and to put the measures in place together, the faster we will recover. We should not be trying to reinvent the wheel. There's processes out there that we can already take advantage of. There's technology. And we have seen in the past that governments have been able to coordinate and to put programs together to support or to recover faster. Like in 2008, with the coordination from the G20, private and public collaboration was possible, and there was a V-shaped recovery at that time. It was very different on the 9/11 attacks, where the processes were very slow, and 20 years later, even today, we are still suffering from some of the implementations that took place back in 2000, in 9/11. So we gotta coordinate better on that front. So what is our approach, and what is we are advocating, not only ourselves as the World Travel and Tourism Council, but also together with all the major organizations like ICAO, IATA, ACI, the World Economic Forum, and many others. We coordinate with all of them the efforts to and are working very closely with governments, with the G20, with the European Union, and many other countries as well to help coordinate the efforts. So number one, we have to make the invisible visible, right? With this virus, the first thing we need to do is to identify who is being infected with the virus, and isolate those people until they recover, so we can kind of limit the spread of the virus. We also have to move from national to individual risk assessments. What you have been seeing in the world is that countries are closing their borders to other countries, assuming that the risk for that specific country, if somebody travels from that country to your country, for example, that's a big risk. And that's an incorrect assessment, because countries do not get sick, it's individuals. So with proper testing, if we're able to identify the people that have caught the virus, we will be able to open the borders and restart travel much faster than if we keep doing blank quarantines as is happening today. We need to consider solutions to remove those quarantines using, again, technology and testing, and defining what types of tests have to be put in place, and at what stage in the travel value chain. We know that there's no one solution that will fit all. It will depend on the stages. There's different countries in different stages, different regions also, which might have higher cases or lower cases. So we need to consider that. But at the end, we need to have some type of coordination and alignment between governments to make sure we are able to restart travel. And governments also need to provide certainty to reassure that people that travel may be able to come back to their home country. Otherwise, if there's no certainty on these kind of simple things, people won't be going back to travel anytime soon. Last year, we started working on the protocols and the safe travel stamp. And I know many of you may be familiar with this, but I think from our end and from your end, what we have to do is to put those protocols in place to be able to just make sure that the people that work in travel and tourism is as safe as possible. There's no 100% sure assurance that we would not get the virus, but even going to the supermarket or outside of our neighborhood, we can get it, right? So it's just applying common sense, sticking to the protocols, using the masks. So we have created protocols for over 11 travel verticals in travel and tourism. The ones that apply most closely to the tour guides are the ones related into the tour operators protocols. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to do it. These were created in collaboration with many of the tour operators, with many of the hotels, the airlines, and all the experts in travel and tourism, but also on the health side. So I encourage you to apply for that. We have been also working with destinations around the world. There's more than 250 destinations around the world that are supporting, but are also recognizing the organizations and the businesses that have implemented safe and healthy and health protocols and that are sticking to those. And this is also a way for us as a sector to recognize not only the organizations, but to help the travelers recognize those organizations that have implemented the protocols and make them feel that it is safe to go into that hotel or to work with your organization on a tour trip or going on a bus, having to discover a new city or a new place. So please make sure you also use the safe travel stamp. If you or your organization is not using it, please contact your destination and they would be able to grant you the use of the safe travel stamp. And I'm just getting to a close. What do we need to do moving on? And I'm going to summarize some of the things that I have been talking about. Currently, we have to stick to the protocols again: hygiene, using face masks, and social distancing. We hear it all the time in the news, but sometimes there's contradictory information from governments or from some regions. So we have to be consistent as a sector. We got to stick to the protocols and make sure we protect not only ourselves, our colleagues, but also the travelers. We have to also push governments to restart the international mobility. How are we going to do this? Of course, putting testing in place, putting contact tracing apps or solutions that are going to help identify and isolate those people that are infected, to prevent if people is infected at home, to prevent that they go and travel and stay at home, and also getting the contact tracing apps to make sure that if you caught the virus while traveling, that we're able to recognize, or the destination is able to recognize the people that might have been at risk, and then help those people to be in quarantine. And then the vaccination should not be a requirement for travel, because as we said, it's going to take some time for the vaccination to roll out to the entire population. The governments need to focus on seniors and vulnerable people, and also the frontline workers from health. But it shouldn't be a requirement. Once we get all the population, then probably this is going to go away. But for now, we believe the vaccinations are an important component, but we should not make this a requirement for travel. And just closing, looking into the future of travel and tourism, we have seen some trends. We have made some analysis. We know the digital agenda has been accelerated. The adoption of technology is everywhere. Genevieve, you were just mentioning that you're doing for the first time in a lot of time now hosting these types of events, which is bringing us together. So we have to take advantage of these opportunities as well and help each other regardless of where we are in the world. The sustainability agenda has also been accelerated. We have seen destinations like Milan or Amsterdam, or these places where previously they were having issues with overcrowding, and right now with the lower demand, destinations are reflourishing. The water channels are clearer than ever, so we need to maintain those things and restart travel with a sustainability agenda always in mind. We gotta understand as well that some of the protocols we are implementing now might stay for a while and maybe for a few years. So let's just accept it, make it part of our living, and make it part of our travel and tourism to fight against this virus. And we need to learn to coexist with the virus. This is not going away. Maybe there will be more of these uncomfortable situations in the future. So we have to learn how to live with these things, move on, and restart travel as safe as possible. With that, I would like to close it. We are hosting our global summit in a few months from now. It's going to be the first global hybrid summit for WTTC. We do this every single year. We've done it for 20 years, and we believe it's going to be a key platform for we're calling it, this is going to be the global travel and tourism recovery platform. And we're going to make sure we apply those protocols as well, and make sure that we share with the world that it is possible to restart travel in a safe manner. With that, and I don't know if I have 1 minute to present a very short video. Genevieve, can I do it? It's like 1 minute video.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you.
What does travel mean to you? Exploring the world? Creating memories? Meeting new people? Disconnecting from it all? But what about making a difference? Because our travels mean so much more than we realize. And those memories we've created together in travel, they're even better than we thought. Remember that restaurant where you'd never felt so full? Know that when you paid your bill, you helped feed your waiter's family of 4. And that time you stared open-mouthed at that incredible dance, you maintained jobs that keep important cultures and traditions alive. Travel is not just life-changing. Travel is world-changing too. That photo you took on safari, the one that hit new levels of likes, your trip supported the tireless fight against the illegal wildlife trade. Remember that spontaneous city break? It helped maintain schools in the local area. And your tour guide, the one who made you laugh so much, she is one of millions of women employed in a sector leading in gender equality. Remember how you made a difference when you traveled? Remember how much your travels meant to others. Now, just think of all the good you can do in the future. Travel the world. Make a world of difference.
And that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's work together and let's restart travel as soon as possible. Genevieve, back to you.
Thank you, Adolfo. That video is a wonderful reminder of the societal value of traveling and tourism, and how through traveling and through tourism, we support communities. So that was our last presentation for the day. We will be, if we can just have quickly the results of the panel that we did. I'm curious to see. So we've got about 22% of our guides that have used via OER or AR. Amazing, 22%. I'm really pleased to see that. And quite a few have, almost all 24% have developed a tour on a virtual guiding tour platform. So those are actually great numbers, and they really reaffirm that WFTGA, I just want to welcome and applaud the leadership of WFTGA. And Alushka, if you can come to the room with me, congratulations for catalyzing these critical conversations. The leadership you've taken with this conference is really, really amazing. And I just want to congratulate you. And I hope that all of your attendees are able to embrace the opportunities that have been presented today, seize the moment. I wish all of you a smooth transition, a successful recovery, and best wishes for moving forward, and looking forward to meeting face to face again. Alushka, I will leave you the final word. We will then present the Amazon video that was cut before, and we will end for some live music. So stay behind, people. We've been enjoying the live music. Alushka, up to you.
Thank you, Genevieve, and thank you very much for those sentiments. We have a fantastic team behind the scenes who many have met, and let me firstly thank all the ladies behind doing our social engagements, our social media, and then Sebastian and your team. The technical support the last 2 days has been fantastic. So from our side, thank you very much. It's really been a fantastic collaboration and a really nice opportunity for us and a learning curve for our first ever virtual conference. So huge thank you from the executive board to all the working teams behind the scenes. And of course to the participants, thank you so much. We love the debate, and we genuinely do like the fact that we've inspired this debate and hope that it will put some forethought into the way you progress as a professional tourist guide in the future. So yes.
Smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things looking so right, noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, oh my, how they fly. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things looking so right, noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, oh my, they fly. Bluebirds singing the song, la-di-da-da, nothing but blue skies from now on. Oh yeah, thank you very much for all the kind compliments. Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is all the way upside down. Just trade them in for packages of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run into a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is all the way upside down. Trade them in for packages of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. Oh, when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Oh, yeah. Thank you very, very much. All right, I was referred to as a lovely chap. That's a great compliment. Thank you all so much. And I am living in and doing this video from the great city, the only wonderful, fantastic city of New York. Thank you all so much. And I got time for one or two more songs. Here we go. Happy songs. When you're smiling, all the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing, that sun comes shining through. When you're crying, oh, you bring on the rain, stop your sighing. Be happy again when you're smiling, all the whole world smiles with you. When you're crying, oh, you bring on the rain, stop that sighing, be happy again when you're smiling, oh, that whole world smiles with you. Oh yeah, and the crowd went wild. Thank you all very, very, very much. All right, one more song. Oh yeah, more New York swing, happy music. Here we go. No one to talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, I'm happy on the show. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. I know for certain, the one that I love, I'll do it certain, it's you I think of. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. Oh, like Jack Horner in that corner, don't go nowhere, I don't care. Ooh, your kisses are worth waiting for. Believe me, I I don't stay out late, I don't get to go. I'm on my bout, just me and my radio. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. Oh, like Jack Horner in that corner, don't go nowhere, what do I care? Oh, your kisses are worth waiting for, believe me. Have a good night.